What's up, everybody? It's Dog Talk Tuesdays. We are live. Thanks for joining in. Let's see what we got going on here. Derek Hatfield's in the house. Exactly. Tonight should be a good night. This is going to be an interesting conversation. Let's see who's in here. Kahaki Sakata. Hope I pronounced that correctly. Thanks for joining in. We got Ashley in the house. Who else we got? Majin Style Bullies. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. He said, what's up to everyone? We got James Galloway in here. Calculated Bullies back in here, like always. That's what I'm saying. So tonight, what are the topics? Human aggression, dog aggression, and accountability. Responsibility as a breeder versus as an owner. And how should the community handle it? When we hear of dog bite situations, dog fight situations, anything like that, how should we be dealing with it as a community? Alexandria Marie posted reactivity versus aggression, how to tell the difference, and what to do about both. Tony Moss pointed out the topic was things to do in the winter with your dog inside the house. That's a good one. Taki Williams had a topic, which was how important is knowing your breed's history. Any breed you plan on breeding. It's a good topic. Tony Moss also came back with what's the best old school blood to incorporate into XLs as of today. Another good question, especially because of my thoughts on that. So let's get to it. Who else we got in here? Eric Maxwell said, what's up to everybody? Let's see. Ashley says she's driving on the live to start. Okay, exactly. Make sure you're paying attention to the road. Let's see what we got going on here. Derek Hatfield's in WKRK9 is in here. Dion Peoples, what's up, man? Thanks for Dr. Dion Peoples. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Devin B said, what's up? What's up, man? What's up, dude? Thanks for joining in, dude. We about to get it going. Kyle Holland is in the house. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. We got Bully Bred Kennels is in here. Major League Canines is in here. Jeremiah, Northern Cali tuning in. CPT Bullies is in here. Let's see, fresh off the clock. There you go. That's the best way. Let's see. Pronounce Kahiki. Okay, so Kahiki. All right, cool. And actually, I should have known that with the I in there. So that's my bad. Busa Bam said, let's go. Coming in from Houston. Who else we got? Maurice Humboldt. Thanks for joining in. 862's in the house. BMK's in here. Devin B. Belinda, my partner in crime, Pitbull Bell is in here. Nah, you're not late. We just getting going. We got Dom in here. Let's see who else. Tony Moss, what's good? Don, what's up? Who else is in here? All right, so let's get going. First off, thank you guys for tuning in. We're about to have that dog talk like we do on Tuesdays. You can always subscribe to me for those who are on Facebook. Like I always say, I'm not guaranteed to see your comments. If I do see your comments, I'm not guaranteed to see your name. The best way to join in is to go on YouTube, and that way everyone can see your comments. Although I have noticed on the Facebook lives, there tends to be you guys having your own party, just like we having our own party through YouTube. So, but you can always go to Thrower Bullies YouTube. Make sure you subscribe so that you get and hit that reminder bell. You can also, through Giant XL American Bully Breed 2.0 group, you can put in your topics, also watch the live from there. One thing I'm thinking about doing, I've been watching it for several months. I'm not too sure how to go about it other than at this point just to start doing it. But there's a new app called Clubhouse where you can go on there. I noticed Facebook has something similar. Let me turn that off. That they copy from Clubhouse, where basically you can go on there and everybody can talk and communicate. You know, you have people that are watching at the same time. Those who start the room or whatever they call it in Clubhouse can bring people up. You can bring up as many people as you want, and then it's just about everybody communicating. So I'm thinking about using the Clubhouse app. You guys check it out. If you get some ideas, definitely let me know, because I'm still kind of trying to figure out how to go about doing it in the best way. One of the things I noticed is people kind of talking over each other a lot. I have noticed that some rooms they kind of have what they call it a one mic policy. So definitely check that out. And I'll probably start using it soon. Again, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to share, make sure to share. But yeah, I'm thinking about using the Clubhouse app soon. That won't interfere with what we're doing on Tuesdays. It'll probably be something that we do for maybe an hour every other day or something like that. We'll figure it out. But let's get into the topics. Who else is in here? See, the Bulls is in here. Let's see, Dion. People said Clubhouse was invite only. I don't think so. I think you should be able to download the app, and then from there you just kind of start checking out whatever rooms. How did I get into it? I think because I've been on a couple of them, actually speaking. Tended to be more about hip hop and street type matters. But I don't think you have to be invited. I think I just downloaded the app, put in the things I was interested in, and then things just started popping up. There's a lot of celebrities that tend to be on it. Gives them a way to conversate with their fans. And now you've got a lot of what do you call them? Podcasters are using it. So I think it's a good tool. Just not sure how I want to go about doing it. But yeah, I don't think you have to be invited. I think you just have to download the app. You do have to be invited up onto the stage to talk. But that's why I think it's a dope idea, because it's something where we can invite everybody up on stage to talk. You know, if you want to talk, cool. If you don't want, you just want to listen, then that's cool also. But I'm thinking about using it. Let's see. Okay, used to be an invite only. All right, well, I don't think it's invite only anymore. And they even have a chat room now. So, which I noticed in the last couple weeks, now when you're actually listening to people, you can actually have your own comment. There's a comment section going on. So I just got to figure out the details of it, because you guys might be right. So I need to check it out. All right, all you guys are saying it works on invites. You can't just make an account. Okay, because I made an account and I can open up a room if I want. So, and I'm noticing other bully people in there. So maybe that's something that's changed after a while. But check it out, because you guys might be right. And so check it out. Let's see. James said, what kind of doctor are you, to Dion? Let's see. I'm a music baby battle rapper with XL American Bullies. There you go. All right, there you go. I used to rap. Haven't done it in a long time, but I definitely did. Had an album out and everything. It was in Tower Records. They still owe me money after they filed bankruptcy. Let's see. Pitbull Bell, the rooms are cool. You can mute and take turns. Exactly. So we just got to figure out how to do it. But I think it would be something dope to bring people on, especially if we had a group of people that were not necessarily dedicated to it, but that were going to show up, always be on stage, and then kind of, help monitor the room and keep the conversation flowing. Let's see who we got in here. So let's see. Belinda said it changed. Yeah, I think it's changed where it's open to everybody. But we'll check it out. What's up, Hardcut Bully Kennels? Thanks for joining in. Big Bully Kennels from Kansas is in here. Thanks for joining in. And Faith Family Football said, enjoy the Monday lives with you, QBN, and Mr. Second to None. Yep, matter of fact, Mr. Second to None, Danny Cervantes himself, he's also on Clubhouse. So we just got to figure out how to go about it, get it booming, and start making moves with it. Keyshawn said, checking in from Miami. What's up? Thanks for joining in. All right, so first topic was, where are we? Now I got to find the topics again. Best old school blood to incorporate into XLs today. A lot of bully breeders have taken issue with the fact that I've always stated there are very few true bloodlines within the American bully world. Most of the bloodlines that we call bloodlines in the American bully world are just named what they're named off of a popular stud. They're not true bloodlines. Some of them even breed true when you're breeding them to scatterbred dogs. But if I were to create a bloodline, 90% of what we call bloodlines in the American bully world would be wiped out just by accidentally breeding to that bloodline, which is the purpose of a bloodline. So when we do look at bloodlines, like I said, most of them are named after kennels or popular dogs, but very few people in the American bully world. I always give a shout out to Jason Tryline Lau. He's one of the few that has a bloodline. There's a few others. If we go before him, there's very few people that had a true bloodline, meaning they took a group of dogs, got them all in, which created a family of dogs, then took that family of dogs and line bred and inbred for 5 to 10 generations till they had their own unique look, unique temperament and unique ability. That is what creates a bloodline. Without those 3 things, it is not a bloodline. Now, with the American bully being bred more of a dog for looks, ability is not much of a factor, but the more we get away from ability, the more we lose health, the more we lose intelligence. So we need to kind of make it a factor, even if it's just in our individual yards. I would say, though, looking at the breed, if you go back through the history, we know this all started pretty much with Razor's Edge and Greyline. Razor's Edge with Dave Wilson, what was he focused on? From what I understand, he came from the UKC show ring of American Staffordshire, Pit Bulls, UKC Pit Bull, which is really just the AKC American Staffordshire. But that was where he got going. That was his world. That was his start. And that's what he participated in. So then, on the other hand, you had Greyline. I grew up around Greyline. Most of us knew them as blue dogs in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s. They were these blue dogs, blue pit bulls, and they are high drive, very capable dogs, great for protection. Anything you wanted to do physical, Greyline had that. At some point, Greyline produced the dog Wangati. Wangati was purchased by, I forget the guy's name, and then that guy started Gotti Line. So, and Gotti Line was started not along the same lines as Razor's Edge, where conformation was a big issue. Or I shouldn't say an issue, but was a big focus. Gotti Line was more about the big head, the thick bone. At some point, and so therefore they were taking the Greyline lineage and then outcrossing it to other breeds to get that big head, thick bone. At some point, Razor's Edge people were against breeding the Gotti Line. At some point it did take place. And then here we are now with the American Bully. So I would say, in my opinion, if we're going to incorporate old school bloods, when I look at the XL today, what do you see? A lack of breed type, and a lot of conformation issues, high rears, sway backs, stiff stifles, weak pasterns, splayed toes. So in my opinion, if we're going to incorporate new blood, it would be old blood, it would be going back past, because even in your weight pull dogs, 5150, and all those other weight pull dogs that went into the American bully world, a lot of them had structural issues also, but they had the bone in the head. So I would say the best thing to incorporate for XLs at this point is go back. If you can find those heavy Razor's Edge bullies, heavy Greyline bullies. Matter of fact, one of the dogs we plan on getting is heavy Greyline. She's a year old right now. I'll be picking her up when I move to Arkansas. Another dog we plan on getting is also heavy Greyline, and hopefully that breeding took. But to me, that's where we can go back, get those initial drives and that initial confirmation that the breed needs, because you can get size and head and bone, all that stuff is easy to get, but your confirmation has to be priority. Your temperament has to be priority. And when I say temperament, I don't mean a lazy dog. I mean a dog that is alert, a dog that is active, a dog that is intelligent. because when you start breeding away from the drives, you start to lose those things. So that would be my opinion, you know. So we're gonna keep that one short because I still feel when it comes to the bully, as of right now, the main thing you got to focus on is the dog in front of you. Now that we kind of know what we want to work with within our yard, we wanted to reach out and get gray line and hope more gray line influence. And I think we found the right kennel to do that. So shout out to that kennel. I'm not going to say who it is right now, but we'll get there. Let's see. What do we got going on in the comments? Bam. Ashley said you can record it and then post it on YouTube and Facebook and stuff like that for people to see, like, afterwards, that what was talked about. If you had on Clubhouse, I noticed that with a couple of the podcasters. Right now I'm more in the groups that are hip hop. A few of them, one of the groups I was in, the rooms I was in the other day, we were talking back and forth. It was about basically the gang violence in LA, and the things that have been taking place lately here on our streets. And but I noticed after that same live or same room was posted on YouTube. So I don't really know how to go about doing that, but you're 100% right that you can do it. And I think I noticed now there's a share app on it that goes to Twitter, which I don't have. I don't think I have a Twitter. Goes to Twitter and I think Facebook and possibly something else on there. So it can definitely be shared live afterwards, which is something else that is good. So Shell's Active said, that's crazy because I came across a lot of bully owners that rap. Love my brother, keep rocking. For sure. Yeah, I used to rap back. I think I stopped probably about 10 years ago. I still have some videos and some show performances that are on YouTube. We got a album release party that we did at House of Blues that was on YouTube. And I think I got another show that was also at House of Blues that's on YouTube. But yeah, I got some stuff that is, you know, still out there. Every now and then I'll go back and I just kind of watch it and take that time to reminisce when I was young. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. As a recap, is that what it's called to place it on there? Let's see. Kahiki said, Daryl, question. I know back then in the 80s, 90s, there were dog books with bloodline ancestry. What's your thoughts on why today we don't see that around anymore, especially in the pit bull bully era? You know what? In my garage, I'll have some books. Richard Stratton. I've got a lot of them. Internet has just replaced the book world, and I think that's why we lack a lot of knowledge that used to be out there in all aspects, you know, of things. You know, before, if I wanted, I always give this example. If I wanted to learn about the tip of a dog's tail, I had to buy a book on dogs, and then I hopefully could find the chapter that spoke on the tip of the dog's tail, and I would read that chapter. But then you still had that book sitting there. So eventually you started reading the entire book. You learned about the tail, the toenails, the head, the ears, whatever else. Now there's a lot of lack of information on social media and on Google, due to the fact we type in one topic and that's all that comes up is that one topic. So the abundance of information, though there's a lot of information out there, there's not as much information as was out there when we had books, because you miss out on a lot. When people wrote books, they tended to write about everything. And then if you wanted to learn a specific thing, you had to buy that whole book and go through the index to that part, learn that, and then eventually you read the rest of the book. And I think that's what's missing out in the world. But if you look at anything that you do well, I don't care what it is, race car driving, fixing cars, breeding dogs, music, whatever it is, and you type that topic in on Google or in social media, the misinformation is just as abundant as the true information. Actually, it's even more so. Or somebody selling themselves or something to you. So, you know, unfortunately, you know, books, newspapers, magazines, things like that are just dying down. Donna, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Tuxedos in the house. Love the 1 year anniversary video. Yeah, that was cool yesterday. I didn't realize that we had been doing that, the Monday night lives, for a year. I had no idea it had been that long. If you would have asked me, I would have told you, like, I would have said at most 6 months. I did not realize it had been a year. Don said, yo, bro, just had a litter of 9 pocket bullies. What would be your advice for new bully breeders? If you just had a litter of 9, if you've got the male, start taking that male out in public, showing him, make posts on Facebook. But I personally believe breeders need to start with their communities first before you get to splashing all into social media. You got Tractor Supply, PetSmart. You got all these places you can take your dog. Start getting your dogs out there. Get some business cars made. Just go old school with it. Let people see you walking your dogs. You know, don't just walk your dog on your street. Get to the busiest street. Walk the dog there. Park at a major grocery store. Start walking your dog there so that people can see your dogs. Next thing I would say is if you got both the male and female. Now, I wouldn't be taking the female out due to the fact she's going to be around the pups, but take your male out when your female gets to the age when your pups get to the age where they're independent of the mom, around 4 to 5 weeks. Start taking your female out, cleaning her feet when you get back, things like that. Take the dogs for rides in cars. Do all those things and have a way of communicating and exchanging your information with people. I know my kids because I had some business cards made, and my kids are like, you just use the business card on your phone. You just tap it to that. That's too much for me. So I went and got some business cards made. Just do that. And you'd be surprised at how much word of mouth spreads. And it actually spreads, in my opinion, better and more effective than social media with a lot less drama. But start getting in the bully groups, making posts in the bully groups, post on your pages. If you got people that you want to tag to the post so that the post builds more algorithms, hit those people up, ask them for their permission, tag them to it, and then make your posts. But that's going to be the best way for you to get out there. As of right now, for a new bully breeder, learn as much as you can about your puppies, the best thing to do for the mom, best thing to do for puppies, the right nutrition, things like that. Don't overfeed with protein. That's something that's popular and extremely bad. But I would say stick to those basics. I want to say there are a few lives on our YouTube channel. If you check those out, should be in the topics of those lives, where you'll be able to find a lot of information as far as whelping and things like that. Let me see here. Oh, you from the UK? What's up? Thanks for joining in. Find the old school. Let's see. Belinda Pitbull Bell said, find the old school dog you like. Look back and see how tight the people bred on certain dogs and go from there. I agree. You know what I mean? And that's why it's hard to just say an actual bloodline, or kennel line or stud line, which the last two I stated aren't real things. But it's hard to say just, who specifically or what specifically. Because it also depends on what issues you're having. What is it you're trying to do? Are you lacking mass? Do you have the mass, but you lack confirmation? So what is it you're trying to do? A lot of it, is based off the dog. So look at the dogs that you have will be the best thing. I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, whose question was that? That was Tony Moss' question. Look at the dogs that you have, what direction you need to go to get to where you want, and then look for those lines that have that. You may not even need one of those dogs. You may be better off finding a dog of today and using that. Let me see. What is it, 6 generations to claim a line? It usually takes the average breeder about 7 to 10 generations. The best breeders will do it in 5 to 6, but it usually takes about 7 to 10 generations to actually have a consistent line that you can breed to a scatterbred dog and still produce that line. Because that's your last move, is to do a final inbreeding to lock it in, or a close line breeding to lock it in. You breed to a scatterbred dog that is of the same value, has the same traits as your dogs, and then that scatterbred dog just becomes a vessel of new blood to continue the look, ability, and temperament of your line. But it takes an average breeder 7 to 10 generations. Some never get there because they make wrong decisions and they constantly have to incorporate new blood. The best breeders will do it in 5 to 6 generations. Let me see here. Sometimes what's beyond the fourth does matter. Yes, I agree with that. And you figure at fourth, you're looking at, what do we have? First generation parents would be 50%. Grandparents would be 12 and 25%. Great grandparents, so we're looking at third generation back, would be 12.5. Fourth generation would be like 6.2. Fifth generation would be like 3 point something. And it can still show up based on how the dogs were bred, also how many times that dog in that sixth generation is in there. Because if he's in that fifth generation, 2 times, then he's no longer sitting at 3%. He's looking at now 6% or higher. So depending on how many times a certain dog is in there, it can increase those percentages, even though he's far back in the pedigree. So that fourth generation, I agree 100%. It does matter. If it's a scatterbred dog, it's probably not that big of an issue. But if that dog's in there multiple times, or that dog is line bred or inbred tightly, he can pop back up, depending on what you breed to, especially if you breed to something that brings that line back. Tony Ma said, yo, I mean, old school dog blood, like frozen straw off a particular dog. Oh, okay. Tony, what's old school blood like as far as frozen? So basically a specific dog. It depends on what you're looking at in your yard. There's so much inconsistency. There's so much inconsistency within our breed, especially if we're talking about XLs, because I know there's pit bull breeders on here, Bandog breeders, and I know there's also American Bulldog breeders. But if we're talking about the American Bully, the XL, the inconsistency is so much, and there's so many of those old school dogs that don't breed consistent, but we pretended they do. So this dog gives a big head, but then you breed it, and he's known for big heads. But everybody that gets him breeds him to females that have big heads. Was he really consistent? You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times that is really hard to tell. And it also depends on what's in your yard that you're looking to breed to. So I can't really name one dog that I would go to. If in our yard, if I could get a straw from the original Wangati straight off of Gray Line, I would do that. Remy, I would do that. There's a few others, that I like that I would do. I'm just a Remy fan. I like the look of the dog, the color of the dog. I love everything I've heard about the drive of the dog. So it really depends on what it is, that you're looking for. Let's see. It depends. Sometimes 5, but definitely 6 to 7 and beyond. Exactly. When it comes to creating a bloodline. Let's see. You got to be consistent no matter how many generations. Yes, you want to look at your pedigree and see the traits that you want passing all the way into the dog that you own or that you just bought or the dog that you're about to get. If those traits that you're wanting in the pedigree aren't being passed down, you can't see them in the pedigree, then chances are you are not going to get it. And in the bully game, that's the biggest thing about a pedigree is not the name of the dog, but what are the traits that's being passed from the dogs that's in it. What's up, Massachusetts fishing and growing in the house? Let's see. Nigel said, I know Bell can help me with this question. Have you experienced breeding two very separate, tightly bred dogs? If so, what were some of the outcomes? Were they good? Were they bad? Things to be aware of. It depends on let's see, have you experienced breeding two very separate type? Okay, so you got two tightly bred dogs. You're going to breed them together. What's the experience? I've not done that with bullies. It will be something that we will end up doing. Probably not this year, probably next year, the year after. Depends on how things are moving. But basically, you want to look at the traits of those dogs. When you say those dogs are tightly bred, what are they getting from being tightly bred? When you breed those two tightly bred dogs together, You can either get what they call hybrid vigor, which you get something that you never expected, and it's the greatest thing to the bully world. Or you can also get something that you just get the traits that match, and it just clicks perfect. The two dogs complement each other, and those tightly bred traits. You can also get negatives. You can also compound the negative things that you have. So it really depends on what you're looking at. If you're going to take two tightly bred dogs and breed them together, you want to know that the traits that you're looking for are consistent in those dogs, and that there are very few flaws or traits that you don't want. So, for instance, let's say the two tightly bred dogs are going to give me the head that I want, the muscle that I want, the bone that I want, but one of those tightly bred dogs has a high rear, the other tightly bred dog doesn't. Here's what you're looking at. You can get a pup from that breeding, and so of course you're going to pick the dog that gives you the head, the bone, and the pup that doesn't have the high rear. That's what you're going to get. Bam, you got everything you're looking for. But then all of a sudden you breed that pup to another dog that doesn't have a high rear, but because that dog has that in his genetics and in tightly bred genetics, it just didn't show up in his phenotype, but maybe in his genotype. It's easy for him to pass it on if you don't breed that pup to another tightly bred dog that doesn't have a high rear. So that's what you want to be thinking about when you're breeding dogs that are tightly bred. What are the flaws that I do not want? And anything that is tightly bred should not have major flaws, shouldn't have any flaws that you don't want. So that's something you wanna really be thinking about when you do that type of breeding. All-around dog, exactly. Be aware of the all-around dog, especially when it's tightly bred. Temperament, conformation / look or appearance, and also the ability of the dog. What is that? And when I say ability, let's say you're not even thinking along those lines. Contact that owner, find out what the dog is good at doing or the things that the owner expects the dog to do in various situations. Shell's Active said, if I breed a black merle to a chocolate, see, you're out of my realm. If I breed a black merle to a chocolate tri, do you think I'll get a chocolate tri merle? Okay. Black merle doesn't matter. Merle is a pattern, not a color. So that part I can give to you. So look at it in two ways. I'm going to breed a black dog to a chocolate tri dog. What am I going to get? Whatever that gives you, I'm not into color genetics and all that. So whatever that gives you, that's what it's going to give you. Plus you splash the merle on top of it. You just threw some bleach on there, put it in the dryer. Now it comes out. That's what you're going to end up getting. From my understanding, if you're going to breed a non-tri dog, the black and the chocolate, I'm not too sure how that correlates because black is an original color of dogs. So is red. Chocolate is a dilute of, if I'm not mistaken, chocolate is a dilute of red. And so therefore you are possibly going to get some black dogs, possibly some chocolate dogs as far as the tri factor. You might get a combination. Plus, as far as the tri factor, you should get probably about half the litter maybe will come out tri. So then some of them may carry that tri gene, but not come out tri. So that's going to be definitely something that the dogs that don't show what you're looking for, those pups, definitely have them health tested so you know if that tri gene is there. But I'm not a color guy, so that's something I won't be able to answer. Hopefully we can find that answer by somebody else in here. And it's 80 people in here. Make sure you hit that like button and share. If you're watching from Facebook, which means there's actually more people watching, it's definitely not showing Facebook comments, so I can't see your comments. If you go to YouTube, you can, I'll be able to see your comments from there. Or you guys can have your own party going in the Facebook comments. Let's see. Oh, my bad. Maine said, Ashley, I feel it's great because sometimes I'm unable to tune in and I just download the video with an app to watch it later. Will be very useful. All right, so we're gonna run with the clubhouse thing. Betsy, Spirit Rider, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Eric said, I think old Benjamin out your way in LA. that attacked that animal control. You said old Benjamin, and my dumb ass knows exactly who you're talking about. When the lady comes out, she's wearing a muumuu, and she says, "Get him, Benjamin." 1987 looked more bully than Pitbull, in my opinion. I would agree. He was definitely more bully because I remember Benjamin. And that animal control lady, she was so little. I felt bad for her. Dom said, "Where can we find your music?" Uh, I'm gonna hit you up. My son said YouTube. I'm gonna hit you up and I'll let you know, Dom. Hit me up on Messenger and I'll go ahead and I'll let you know. I did have some bully people. What was it? Years ago, probably about 2, 3 years ago. Somehow they were looking into me, and the first thing they came up with was, "You used to be a rapper, blah, 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 blah." And they were talking trash. So I just beat them to the punch and I posted a couple of my videos from back in the day. It was like, yes, I used to rap. I was good though. I don't care what anybody says. But definitely, Dom, I will hit you up and I will let you know. Zachariah said, "Daryl, how do we find your rap?" Oh, here you guys go. Hit me up on Messenger and I will let you know. I'm not going to make it a part of the live. I say some controversial things in my music from back then. Pretty Eye Pit says she's active. If the Merle dog has, okay, here we go. Perfect. So, Pretty Eye Pit says, if the Merle dog has no tri in its genetic, I think you'll get Merles and tri carriers. Okay, so I would assume you will get some Merles, some that aren't Merles but are carriers. Then you'll also get some tries, plus some that don't show tri but are genetically carriers but not phenotype, but don't show the tri phenotype. And I think is what she's saying. John Stevens said, checking in all the way from Best Virginia. There you go. What's up? WV's in the house. As always, nothing but love and respect to all my fellow bully lovers. James Galloway said, people don't read. That's why. I agree. They just like short snippets, which is why Google and all that stuff is considered to be great for people. The so-called breeders of today want you to just tell them what they want to hear. They're not trying to research and learn. I agree. Funny you say that because Raul and I were talking about that. And also yesterday, Raul from QBNK and also Belinda and I, Pitbull Bell and I had a conversation yesterday. I think we were on the phone for like 2 hours talking about dogs. And in the middle of work, I actually got fussed at by my boss, texting me to find out where I was. But that was a great conversation. And I agree. And that is why I look at things now, and it's going to be hard to get the average person just to understand, slow down life, and take the time to pick up a book and read it. That is why in my conversations with Belinda Pitbull, aka Pitbull Bell, and with Raul from QB and Kennels, in that conversation was why we are all in agreement that doing these lives is something the community needs. I'm not used to being a group community type person. I am used to keeping my secrets and then coming out with the best dog. That's always been my thing. So getting into bullies, I came into it with that same mentality. And it was actually I had people constantly telling me I needed to go live, including my kennel partner. Shout out to my cousin, Ace High, Aaron Thrower. But I was like, nah, I'm not going to do live. Why do lives and teach people? Because when I walked into the community, I realized how much of a lack of knowledge of dogs in general it was. But everybody had these bully baseball cards where they could tell you every dog's great grandparents, uncles, nieces, nephews, sisters, great grandparent, and the kennel that it came from. But they didn't know anything about dogs. They just knew the names of bullies. So I looked at it like Tupac said, peek the weakness in the rap game and sold it. That's the way I looked at it. That was my motto when I entered the bully community was I'm going to use this weakness against the community to come with the best dogs. But then after talking to a lot of people, really seeing what was going on, and in a long conversation with my wife, it was, okay, you need to play a better part in the community. Don't use the community's weaknesses against itself for your gain, because you're now becoming involved in a breed. And when I realized I was not going to be breeding any other breeds after this, then I kind of had to accept the fact that, okay, we need to make a better community. And that is why I started doing lives. You get a lot of breeders say, okay, I'm going to start going live. But then you find out they just selling a litter. And as soon as that litter is gone, they stop going live, or they've only got 5 topics they can deal with, or they go live to bash other breeders in the community. So that's why I focus these lives strictly on the education, answering questions. You guys know I wanted to limit the lives down to an hour. Everybody was in agreement. No, keep them as long as it takes. So that's what we're doing. But I think it is a necessity. Facebook has a huge influence on this breed, unlike any other breed. And I think the more we put out as much education as possible with nothing to gain from it, I think the better the community becomes, and the more educated the community becomes. When I first got into the American bully community, and this is what Raul and I were talking about today, when I first got in this community, nobody wanted to learn. They just wanted the quickest way to get whatever dog was going to make them money, and they wanted to be under some known breeder's wing, and sit there and get some type of trickle down effect from the pyramid scheme. When I saw that, I looked at it, I'll be honest, I looked at it 100% like the streets. Like, okay, I can move right into this community and I could take over. And that's the mentality I first approached the bully community with. But then I realized, you know what, that's not going to get the community or this breed anywhere. And eventually people will look down on this breed, and it won't matter if I have the best dog or so-and-so's got the best dog, because nobody respects the breed in the first place. What I'm noticing in the last, I'd say, 2 years is there are more newer breeders getting involved in the community that aren't looking to be under your wing, but are looking to just get knowledge and information on dogs in general, and even on this breed. And more new breeders. The people used to love to say about me, Daryl knows dogs, but he doesn't know bullies, which makes zero sense. The breed is easy to figure out. It's the dog aspect that takes time and experience to learn. And now I see more and more newer breeders getting into it, and they want to learn dogs so that they can use that knowledge in their bully breedings or whatever breed you happen to breed. So I think there is a shift coming. I think that pyramid scheme is slowly cracking. Those who sit at the top of it, I feel sorry for you, because it's going to be a new influx of breeders, and hopefully I'm one of them, or I influence that one. And I hope, there's a lot of us. I know Belinda looks at it the same way. Raul looks at it the same way. Danny Cervantes looks at it the same way. Again, another Tupac quote: I may not be your change the world, but I want to influence the mind that does. And when you reach my age, those kind of become the way, that starts to become the way you think. But yeah, we are missing out by people just not picking up books and reading those books. Mac, American Bullies, what's up, man? He said, I grew up poor as fuck with no internet, TV, or phone. Books were the only way I had to learn anything. See, there you go. And a lot of people miss out on the details that we got from reading books. Whereas when you get on the internet, like I said, whatever it is you love, Google it, and the misinformation is abundant, and the lack of detail is abundant. I was just on a room on Clubhouse today that was talking about hip hop, and it was weird to listen to them talk about the transformation of hip hop and how we got to where we got, because a lot of them were mid 20s to mid 30s, where I was 19, 20, 21, 22 in the prime of hip hop when it was at its best. And, so listening to them explain why lyrics went downhill, but beats got what they consider, or why not got better, but why you have so many producers now that can make good beats. I remember when lyrics were abundant and beats were hard to find for rappers. And so listening to them try to give that translation of something I saw when I was in my 18, 19, 20s, they saw when they were 5, 6, 7, maybe 13, 14 years old, was weird, because they were kind of right, but extremely wrong at the same time. There was just a lot of details they missed out on by being young. So let's see. So I agree. Pretty Eye Pit says research and trial and error. There's nothing that replaces it. Nothing that replaces it. Pretty Eye Pitch, my female is a tri-carrier. Okay. Don said I only have 1 male and 8 females. So now you know you possibly, again, you have the randomness of genetics, but because you only have 1 male, 8 females out of a litter of 9, that gives you a pretty good idea that you have a male that is more likely to throw females. Now you'll see on his next litter, if his next litter is 1 female and 8 males, now you know you're back in the air and you don't know what you got until you get that 3rd litter going. But chances are, because that's such a varying ratio, or not varying ratio, but that's a huge ratio leaning towards females, chances are you have a male that is more inclined to throw females. So now you need to figure out how to use that male to your advantage, because the female is not deciding the sex, it's the male. Bro, answer that, but it was too long. It's a loaded question. It's a phone conversation. Yeah, there are conversations and questions on here that are easier to do through phone. Max Cyborg, what's up? Said, what's the latest to crop dog ears? Salute to you, Mr. Thrower. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. What's the latest to crop dog ears? Oh, as far as age, depends on where you live. I want to say here in California, it's 4 months old. You can find vets that will do it if they have a relationship with you. Excuse me, that will do it later. But I want to say here in California, is it 4 months? I want to say it's 4 months old. But it depends on where you live. So it depends on where you're living at. You might be able to find a vet that will do it later. It's something you're going to have to look into and talk to as many breeders in your area as possible. Let's see. James Galloway, you said a mouthful there. Rhodes, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in, brother. Posse fam, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Kahiki said, sorry, I'm thinking about the books with sires and dams, family trees. Dog A was bred with dog B. And so you're looking at pedigree. Best thing I would say is you might want to go on Pitpedia. There, even in my age bracket, there weren't a lot of books that broke down specific pedigrees, but there were books that had I'm kind of contradicting myself. There were books that discuss certain pedigrees, but not a lot of them. You can find a lot of pedigrees as far as bullies are concerned in Pitpedia. So it's just a matter of going in Pitpedia, typing in a certain dog's name and looking at it. You just don't, as far as going back and finding those books, I can't really think of. See, I know certain books that had it as just part of it because they were discussing a specific dog, but I don't know of books that really just gave you a whole lot of pedigree. So hit me up on Messenger or Instagram and Thrower Bullies Instagram, and I might be able to find something that you can utilize. Alan Dennis in the house. What's up, man? Let's see here. Where we 5:20. Okay, so I'm about 20, 30 minutes behind. Casper, what's up, man? Said thanks. Off-topic question. If you fly overseas for your female to mate with a stud, would the flight back home be in any way affect the possibility of her getting pregnant? That's a good question. I don't believe so. Although, I will say, we went, my wife and kids and I went to Florida, and I hope there's a statute of limitations on this, but anyway, we went to Florida and I tried to sneak a gecko on the plane, and just as the plane reached a certain height with that gecko, I watched him right in front of me die. I had him in a soda bottle with holes in it, and I watched him die. Same thing when you go rock fishing, you get to certain heights, and then all of a sudden we think they just have big eyes popping out, and then all of a sudden you learn later when you see a picture of one in the water, Those rockfish is when you bring them to a certain depth level. As they come up, there's less pressure and their eyes just pop out. So I don't know the answer to that. That's all I could say. I would doubt that it affects them due to the fact they are inside the female and you're just now doing the breeding. But I don't want to say no, it won't have an effect, and something does. To fine tune seven, in my opinion, as far as creating a bloodline, yeah, I would agree. It's gonna take about seven. Like I said, average breeder is gonna take them 7 to 10 generations because you are trying to refine that blood and get it perfect before you actually do your inbreeding. You get it as perfect as possible before you actually do your inbreeding, and then state, bam, I've got my bloodline, and then you find an outcross for it to go to. Your bloodline shows consistent through that outcross, and now you've got a true bloodline. It took me 10 years to get 6 generations. Exactly. And that's the best way to look at it. And I'm glad she said that. Um, and it's because you constantly are finding things that need to be fixed. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad Belinda said that. It can take you 10 years just to hit 6 generations, and you still don't have what would be considered a bloodline because there's constantly little things you want to fix or things you want to enhance. And every time you bring in a dog from outside that, you get that again. A bloodline doesn't start until you get the family of dogs together. Okay. So once you've got a family of dogs, so let's say you've got 5 different unrelated dogs in your yard, you plan on using all of them. When you've got all 5 of those dogs in one litter, that's when you start the bloodlines. Not a bloodline, but that's when you are able to start. Now you have that litter creates a family of dogs that you can go back to other dogs that are in the blood, and now you're fine tuning and refining that blood, getting it tighter and tighter, but at the same time fixing those flaws that you see, whether it's temperament, ability, or look, structure, whatever you want to call it. Then once it's fixed, all those things are fixed. You've been tightening the blood. All those things are fixed. That's when you do your tighter line breedings and eventually a inbreeding to lock it in. Then you find an outcross so that you can get fresh blood in there. And when you do that outcross, some people will do a distant line breeding, go back to something in the past. Other people will do an outcross. The reason in doing the outcross is one, to get in fresh blood, but two, to make sure that your line was able to blast its way through that outcross and produce itself. Which is also the reason you want to make sure that that outcross is not another bloodline or is a distant bloodline or is a scatterbred dog that carries the same traits that your bloodline now carries. And once you do that outcross and your traits still show consistently as far as temperament, ability, and look, then you officially have a bloodline. You made it. Now, if let's say you do that outcross, but it doesn't show true, then it lets you know you need to go back into your blood and you need to get it tighter. G Money Bags, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Let's see. Pretty Eyed Pit says Shell's active, I believe, for TAM points to show both dogs need try to show try. My try bred with Merle produced Merles and try carriers, 13 pups, no pups with TAM points. I was thinking that you could breed try to non-try and produce a litter of some tri carriers and some non tri carriers, but that some of those tri carriers would also show the phenotype, meaning that they'd have the TAM points. So I might be wrong on that. Slayer the Pit said favorite day of the week, Dog Talk. What's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Pitbull Bell said I've been at it forever. So yes, depends on who it is. It can take 7 to 10 generations to make your line. I agree 100%. And that's the thing. If you notice, she said it could take 7 to 10 generations to make your line. She did not say years. It is not a time thing. It's a generational thing. So make sure you're thinking of that. And that's what dogs are about. It's not about time. People need to be patient and just breed the best to the best to get where they need to go. Watchtower, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Don said, yo, bro, how do you tell if the pups are getting enough milk from mom and if she is producing enough milk? As long as they're suckling, if you start noticing pups suckling, then they stop suckling. Chances are they're either falling asleep or they're getting enough milk. When they fall asleep, that is usually due to them getting enough milk. Take that pup off, squeeze that nipple, rub it, not hard because you don't want to squeeze out too much milk and waste it. So just squeeze that nipple a little bit and see if you can get some milk to come out. You want to always test and massage the nipples. If you know this nipple is good, you still want the pups are helping massage it, so you're good. If you know there's a nipple that's not getting as much, that's not getting any milk or whatever, still put pups on that nipple and then move them to nipples that are good. But you want to start trying to massage that nipple and get it going. The other thing that I would suggest doing is come up with your puppy, take your puppy formula that you use and top your dogs off. So when you know you see a dog getting milk and he looks tired, move another pup to that nipple, make sure there's still milk coming out, move another pup to that nipple, and then top your dogs off. But they should be getting milk, and you should kind of noticing it gathering in the corners of their mouth as they're drinking from mom. So you should notice it. Let's see. Wow at Pitbull Bell. Let's see. Okay, great info. Bowser Bully. And that's another thing with these lives. You know, now we're at 83 people. You guys ask your questions. I'm usually about half hour to an hour behind the comments. So pay attention to the comments because there are people in here who know as much as I do, if not more, or they at least know the answer to your question. So pay attention to the comments. I will always get through all the comments unless I'm in a rush for something and answer what those questions. We don't stop the live until I get through all the comments, but normally, but let's pay attention to the comments. If you have a question, pay attention to the comments. There are people in here who will be answering your questions and will give you the information you need half hour to an hour before I even get to it. Let's see. What my bad. Bowser Bully Yard Canada says salute everybody. What's up? Shout out to Canada. Pretty Hot Bitch says at Shell's Active, people will tell you anything. People will tell you anything. Exactly. I listen, experiment, then I kind of know. There you go. Drop your name. I recognize the profile picture. Big Bully, wow, what? Oh, I get what she's saying. She's like, what you talking about? Wow. Let's see. Get the likes up. Yeah, hit that like button, you guys. Share. I always forget to say all those things. Share, like, subscribe. 10 years plus at it. Pitbull Bell. Yeah. Belinda and I had a long conversation yesterday. That lady has a lot of knowledge. She's been doing this for years, not only just with bullies, but also with the game dogs, pit bulls, catch dogs. So Belinda's got a lot of knowledge. Kahiki says, Shell's Active. Yes, you will get a black tri Merle. Okay, so Kahiki is saying that you will get a black tri Merle. Not that you'll get a whole litter of black tri Merles, but you will get that in there. Color chasing is a huge problem for the breed at this point. I agree. If you've got everything that you are looking for, I don't have a problem with breeding for color. I have never bred for color it's not even something I really see when it comes to dogs. I mean, I see it, but it's not a factor in my thought process when I'm looking at a dog. We just got a Merle female. We just got her. She's about a year old now, maybe a little bit, maybe a year and a half old now. We do plan on doing that Merle breeding, but it's her dad that I love. And when I look at him, you don't even notice the Merle in him because it's barely visible. So she came off of Woodland, so shout out to Oscar Tamayo. But I started noticing, I noticed Woodland before I realized he was a Merle. So when it came an opportunity to get a female off of Woodland, it was like, okay, let's run with it. Now, the funny thing with us, even though she's a Merle dog, our plan is because we like Woodland, is to get a non-Merle dog that we can use in our program. And that's kind of the problem with Merle, is not being able to breed Merle to Merle. You can have your best dogs end up Merle and Merle, and you don't have the opportunity to breed them together. So make sure that as you're breeding Merle, another thing about Merle, make sure you don't just have a community of breeders to sell dogs to. Make sure you got pet home people that you can sell dogs to, and put them as your top priority when it comes to selling Merles. Let's see here. I finally caught one of these MFers after catching up on all the videos before. I'll be here every live. Definitely the best show on YouTube, Dog Talk Tuesday. Salute. Definitely got a wealth of knowledge. What's up, Stu20? Thanks for joining in. And I appreciate your comment. Beth B said you need to DNA test, my friend. Yes, on your anytime you breed for a trait and you get a litter of pups that don't show that trait, you want to breed, you want to test those pups. So whether it's Tri, Merle, whatever it may be, you want to DNA test those dogs so that you know that, because they may carry the gene but just not be showing the phenotype. Spirit Rider said, I suppose I'm not allowed to ask if anyone up in Ohio wants to bitch slap someone for me. Betsy, you can't be violent on YouTube. Let's see. Pitbull Bell said, Big Bully. Oh, yeah, done right. 10 plus years. Let's see. Dom, if they drink, then crawl away quietly and go to sleep, they getting enough. Exactly. If they drink and the female moves and they crawling around crying, they didn't get enough. Exactly, because they're still looking for mom. So that's another way to tell. But it's definitely something you want to pay attention to, because sometimes a pup can spend so much energy trying to get milk from a nipple that doesn't have milk that they just spend so much energy, they just go to sleep because their body's going to, especially at that age, their body's just shut down because they have to conserve energy. So if they're not getting milk, you still want to check, but James Galloway said that perfect. Jasmine Jackson, what's up? Thanks for joining in. If the black dog, here we go. Jasmine knows a lot about DNA. She said if the black, and especially color, she said if the black dog carries chocolate, then yes, but it'll have to be a tri-carrier too, so also for a chocolate tri. DNA is the best way to see the possibilities. There you go. Castro said, no, black is dominant over chocolate. Okay, exactly. I get what you're saying. But is chocolate, because I know blue is a diluted black. If I'm not mistaken, chocolate is a diluted red. So I might be mistaken on that. But let me know, Casper. A62 said, when starting with a female off an outcross, will it be harder to lock in traits from her than a more tightly bred or line bred dog? Okay. When starting with a female from an outcross, will it be harder to lock in traits from her than a more tightly bred or line bred dog? Yes. Your more tightly bred and line bred dogs are always going to increase your chances of having the traits that you want. So yes. Now, here's the thing, and this is something the bully world, for some reason, misses out on. Traits. If I'm breeding Bigfoot dog to another Bigfooted dog to another Bigfoot dog to another Bigfoot dog, guess what I'm going to produce? Dogs with big feet. So pay attention to traits, because sometimes it's not all about line breeding and inbreeding and popular names. When it's all said and done, the purpose in line breeding, the purpose in inbreeding, the purpose in a popular name was supposed to be the traits. So when it's all said and done, it's the traits that's more important. If I'm breeding this trait to this trait to this trait to this trait to this trait, then eventually you create a line of dogs, regardless of whether it's a bloodline or not, that are going to produce that trait. So it's just like when you're looking at your pedigree. What's most important is not the names of the dogs. What's most important are the traits that those dogs are passing. So again, it does come down to traits. But yes, if you're a tightly bred dog or line bred dog is going to give you the trait, does have a better chance of passing on traits that you're trying to lock. Makes it easier to pass on traits that you want to lock in than a female that's off of an outcross. What's she doing? Sadie. Let's see here. Wildlife. Red is the dilute chocolate. Now I think that's backwards, wildlife, because red and black are the only two colors that are truly natural to dogs. So I want to say chocolate. Red is the dilute of chocolate. I want to say chocolate is the dilute of red, if I'm not mistaken. Mike B said, what is your choice of breed to have with you in an apocalypse? It will be the bullies that we produce in our fifth generation of our it'll probably be our fifth generation getting towards our bloodline. As far as right now, I would have to run with a well-bred Bandog. That would be my choice of breed. If there was an apocalypse, that's what I would run with, is a Bandog over a well-bred Bandog over any specific breed. John said, if the black dog carries chocolate, then yes. Okay, because now you got a black dog that's got a chocolate gene. So if the black dog carries chocolate, then yes. But it'll have to be a tri-carrier, 2 for a chocolate tri. DNA is the best way to see the possibility. All right, so Jasmine, let me ask you this. If I breed a tri phenotype, so he's obviously a carrier, to a non-tri dog, the dog doesn't even carry tri, won't I still get some tries in that litter? Let me know that, because now you guys are teaching me. Wildlife said try to non-try makes no try. What? That I didn't know. I always thought you still get some. James Galloway said if you squeeze the tit and milk comes out, it should be producing enough. If no milk, try the next tit. Exactly. I agree 100%. Bowser Bully Yard Canada said, Daryl, thoughts on Chain Gang and Genghis Khan dogs? I hear rumors, and that's how I look at them. We have Genghis Khan in, I want to say in Cardi Bull, and also in, I want to say King of Diamonds. I think there might be Chain Gang and Lady Justice. Here's my thing with that. There are a lot of rumors placed on kennels and popular dogs and productions from kennels and offspring of popular dogs. I think if you don't know dogs, the best thing to do is avoid the bad rumors and gravitate towards the good rumors. If you know dogs, then you are aware that the good rumors can easily be lost in generations by the time we purchase our American Bully, and the bad rumors can be lost in generations by the time we purchase our American Bully. But to take the good rumor as a grain of salt, the bad rumor as a grain of salt, and then breed accordingly. So I don't have a specific opinion on any specific kennel of the past, or blood of the past, or dog of the past, because this is a new breed, and I know people weren't breeding accordingly to how breedings are supposed to be done when it comes to this breed. So I don't put a lot of weight on it. The wildlife said try carriers though. Okay, so I'm thinking what you're saying, if I breed a tri dog in phenotype and genotype to a non-tri dog in phenotype and genotype, I won't get any tries, but I will get some tri carriers, is what I think you're saying in that. Lou Blood TV, what's up, Lou? Thanks for joining in. SoCal in the house. You have to carry chocolate on both sides to get chocolate. See, you guys are teaching me today. I like this. So wait a minute. You have to carry chocolate on both sides to get chocolate, you need chocolate on both sides. And I'm assuming that's due to the fact that chocolate is a dilute. Wildlife said exactly as Bell said. Lou Blood said the black Merle will only produce chocolate if it carries chocolate. Okay, somebody else said that. 862, Benji didn't fuck around. If you talking about old school Benji, I feel you. Benji was the business. That was back in the days when Lassie used to actually get into fights with real bobcats and hybrid wolves, and you had Old Yeller, the old school Old Yeller that I used to watch the fight scenes in slow motion as a kid because he was actually fighting. If you get the old school Old Yeller, watch it in slow motion when he gets in a fight. Now he fights raccoons, he fights a bull. What else does he fight on there? But there's a scene where he fights a wolf, the wolf that gives him rabies. Watch that scene in slow motion, and you'll notice what they did is they strapped the wolf's mouth so he couldn't fight back to make sure that the dog playing Old Yeller would win. Check that out. That was something I noticed when I was little and was using that slow-mo on the VHS cassette. And I was mad. I remember running to my dad complaining they cheated and they strapped the wolf's mouth so he couldn't fight back. But check that out. But Benji was the business back in the day. Pitbull Bell said, wildlife, no, I'm some cases, maybe, but in these dogs, most are a throwback, weird color from Red. Exactly. Let's see. Beth B said non-tri could be a tri-carrier, which would produce some tries, but only if bred to another tri-carrier. So here's another question I got for y'all. And y'all got to remind me of my questions because I'm going into other things and you're answering it and I'm forgetting what question you're answering or who you're talking to. If I breed a non-tri-carrier, I think I'm saying that wrong. If I breed a dog that is a tri-carrier but does not have the phenotype to another dog that is a tri-carrier but does not have the phenotype, my question is, will that, of course, it's going to produce tri-carriers, but will that also produce a tri-dog, meaning it's showing it in phenotype? That's another question I have. Castro, MCDT, exactly. Lou Blood, Shell says, so if I take my female black Merle to a chocolate tri, so if I take my black Merle to a chocolate tri, and every time I say chocolate tri, I think of the old rap group. I forget what the group name is. They had a song called Chocolate Tie. It was a female group, and I forget their name. To a chocolate tri, do you think I'll get a chocolate tri Merle? If I take my black Merle to a chocolate tri, do you think I'll get a chocolate tri Merle? See, now y'all getting back into the confusing stages. 862, not necessarily. If done correctly, it can be a beautiful thing. How far am I? I'm at 542. In the comments, 616 in reality. So, all right, we're going to jump on to the next topic. How important is knowing your breed's history? Any breeds you plan on, regardless of the breeds you plan on breeding. So as far as the last topic, old school, me personally, I'm a fan of the old school Razor's Edge. I'm a fan of Gray Line, and we are making moves right now to get back to some old Gray Line. So when y'all heard me say in the past, a lot of people thought I was bullshit when I said we needed a big ass dog like King of Diamonds to do what we planned on doing. Now you guys kind of understand the mindset that we had 5 years ago before we picked King of Diamonds. But so yeah, that's my thing with it. I would say Razor's Edge and Gray Line. As far as the next topic, how important is knowing your breed's history? It is extremely important because you want to remain true to the breed out of respect for those that created it, the country that created it, and the purpose of those dogs. Why do you want to remain true? Beyond respect. Let's say you're just a disrespectful individual and you don't care. Here's what happens. We don't know the purpose of a breed. And when it comes to its ability, the purpose of a breed is what develops its ability, its temperament, and its look. All the way down to the white tip on the tail of a beagle. That had a purpose. That tail's always wiggling because the beagle's excited as it's hunting. Same thing with Jack Russells. And it's easier to see when that dog is going through brush and that tail is wiggling. The Jack Russell, same exact purpose as the white tip on the tail for the same exact purpose. But the tail is shorter than the beagle. Why? Because when that Jack Russell runs down a hole, if you can reach and catch it, you can grab it by that tail and you can pull it out. So it doesn't hurt the dog as much because it's a short tail. It is also why when a dog is big, if you pull it up by its scruff, and when it's a pup, it's fine. Get to your larger breeds, and breeds that don't have a working purpose, you pick them up, or even small breeds that don't have a working purpose, you pick them up by the scruff and it hurts. My Jack Russell, I used to grab her by the scruff of her neck when she was full grown, and it would almost just make her docile. It would almost like put her into a trance where she just became like immobile and would just be sitting there comfortable, no matter how hyper she was. I knew if I was trying to get to my other dogs because they was in the middle of some ruckus and I had her, I would always have to remind myself, grab it, and she'd be kicking and scratching and trying to get loose from me. I always had to remind myself, grab her by the scruff of the neck. As soon as I do that, she would just go docile and limp in my hands as I had her by the neck running to get to the other dogs. So we need to know the purpose of our breed so that we know why they were created. As far as why, breeds used to create it, especially in our newer breeds. When you start to breed away from why a breed was created, or even why dogs were created, you lose health and you lose the temperament. You lose actually intelligence. The reason you lose intelligence and temperament is because dogs have been bred for over 20,000 years to fulfill a purpose. They only had two purposes initially, which was protection or guarding and hunting. So some dogs were bred to attack, a lion, a tiger, a leopard, or whatever that came into the village. Some dogs were bred to alarm, bark if a lion, tiger, or whatever came into the village. Other dogs were bred to hunt alongside the hunters of that village. The very next thing that came along, but still implemented itself strongly, was herding. We had some dogs that were perfectly fine being around livestock and would protect those livestock from other predators. Eventually, some of those remember, hunting, guardian were the original purposes. Eventually, some of those guardians, now some guardians are just there to bark and alarm the village. Some guardians are there to actually attack what's coming. But eventually, what those dogs started doing was assisting in herding. The dogs that were best in helping herd started being bred together, and then we created our herding breeds. And in that 20,000 year period, what did we do? We created three purposes: hunting, guarding, herding. Those are the three purposes of dogs. The further you get away from those three purposes, the more protection, windows. Why do I keep getting that popping up? I got to call IT. But the further you get away from those original three purposes, the more you lose intelligence, the more you lose health, and of course, functionality. Functionality tends to be the first thing that goes, and then you start to lose drives, health, and intelligence. So understanding the breed. So if we're creating a new breed, or you're a Bandog breeder, for my Bandog breeders that are watching, you definitely want to know the history of the breeds. Loss in genetic ability without replacing that ability with another ability leads to health issues, leads to intelligence issues. Loss in genetic temperament without replacing that drive that you're losing with another drive leads to lack of cognition, and you start to have also bring in temperament issues. Loss of a genetic look is a good thing when you're creating a breed, due to the fact that you start to form a breed type. What you don't want to lose is conformation. So that's the best way that you want to look at it. And that's why you want to understand and learn the breeds. Another side of that, when we went through the pedigrees of our dogs, we were able to spot exactly where dogs were hung, especially when it came to mastiffs, cane corsos, possible Rottweilers, various mastiffs. You're able to spot them. The only way you're able, and when you know they're there, you can see how far back they are, and you can also look at those traits in your dog. We, as American Bully breeders, are trying to refine a brand new breed. So being able to look at your dog and understand where certain traits are coming from gives you an idea of how to maintain those traits or get rid of those traits. I'll use King as an example. King of Diamonds, for instance, has what I would consider a little extra lip. He also has some wrinkle under the neck. Everything else on him is pretty much tight. He's also a tall dog and a wide dog. How do you get that? Those who like to hate on King of Diamonds will say he's just got a bunch of Mastiff in him. But if you know dog breeds and you look at King, that tight lip with that short muzzle, you're going to have a hard time finding that bully butt muzzle, that American bully muzzle that's desired in a dog King size. How did he get that? Didn't come from Mastiff. It had to have come from an American Bulldog, more than likely a Johnson. So we automatically know. So then, which makes sense. How did King get his leg length? You do have American Bulldogs that are taller dogs. You also have Mastiffs that are taller dogs. What you don't have is Mastiffs that are taller dogs, but also wide. You know, when you start getting to your Boer Bells, you'll find that. But I know American Bully breeders were hardly doing any Boer Bell breedings. So you got to look at the dogs that were accessible to the breeders back then in the 90s and 2000s. And what was that? Cane Corsos, Presses, Bandogs, Rottweilers. You would have had some oldie Bulldogs, especially if you got more to the south. But other than that, those are going to be your main dogs used. So when it comes to King size, you're not going to get a Cane Corso that's as tall, that has King's height and King's width. You're not going to get that. So more than likely, what is he the result of? American Bulldog breedings in his lineage. So by understanding the dogs in your lineage, you get to under the breeds that would have possibly been used in your lineage. You get to look at the dog that's in front of you and kind of understand where it's getting its temperament from, where that trait can come from. Because remember, some traits, the only way to breed out a trait is to do it intentionally. Some traits, we don't breed them out, we ignore them, and we're just constantly breeding and constantly breeding. We're not even thinking about certain temperamental traits or even physical traits. So when it comes to those traits that are phenotype, and temperament is a phenotype, which means that it can be seen, you just got to learn how to see it. You'll have, by learning the breeds that possibly went into our breed, you'll be able to make better judgments when it comes to breeding away from things that you don't like or continuing things that you do. Let's see here. What other topic do we have? So yes, understanding the breed's history is very important in order to maintain a functional dog in mind, body, and soul. Let's see. Let's go back to the comments before we get into the next topic. Slayer the Pit said, not to bash, but why are we so worried about what colors pups will be if we mix A and Bs when we having all these flaws out there? Let's start with structure, then we worry about color. I agree. So when I see somebody talking about color, I automatically assume they've taken care of everything else, or they are going to breed to a color that also has the structure and temperament that they need combined. And I'm glad that Slayer Pit brought that up. Everybody needs to think about that. If you're breeding for a color, don't just breed to a dog because it has that color. Breed to a dog because it has that color, plus the temperament and structural issues that you need to work on in your breed. And there's enough dogs out there that you should be able to do so. We in the American Bully community especially have to, there's too many flaws, too many champions, too many grand champions that have the head everybody wants, the bone everybody wants, but then they've also got structural issues. At some point, we need to hit a reset. All the registries and the show wins and everything needs to hit a reset button, go back to the fun shows, and really say, let's focus on structure before we worry about anything else. We might lose some head size. We might lose some bone density. We might lose some girth, but we can get that back. We got to fix these dogs first and then start heading into these other areas that really aren't important other than to the human eye. You know, even with the registries, from what I understand, and I don't know if it was the live I did with Terrell. Shout out to Terrell Quincy and Tony Moss. If it was that live, or there was another live I was on, but I want to say it might have been that. But someone made the comment that registries are now are not letting judge withhold ribbons, meaning that if 10 dogs come into the ring and all 10 suck, they still have to give out a first, second, and third place ribbon. If registries are doing that, the person who said it, matter of fact, I think they made a comment. I think it came from a comment. But if registries are doing that, that has to be stopped. Like, that has to end. I don't care how big of a registry you are. That judge needs to be able to walk in for his own credibility. That judge needs, how can you, I don't even want to get into that. But I will say, judges need to be able to walk in a ring, look at dogs, and withhold ribbons and make everybody go home. If you're truly in this for bettering the breed, any registry that has a policy that says a judge has to give out a ribbon, first, second, and third, regardless of the way the dogs look that show up, you can't, as a registry, claim you're in this for the betterment of the breed. At that point, you're giving out participation trophies. And participation trophies have never bettered any team, straight up, whatsoever. All they end up doing is causing a weak society and weak individuals. So you've got to highlight, if you want to give a ribbon that says thanks for showing up to the show, great. But you cannot put first place, second place, third place written on a ribbon with the year and the name of the registry, and that judge is forced to give that out just because those dogs showed up, and then turn around and claim that you're doing things to better the breed. At that point, you're not bettering the breed. You're making the breed worse, and you're making it more difficult for us to correct the issues, us as breeders to correct the issues that we see going on within our breed. It was almost 4 hours there. Exactly. We was on there for, wow, talking. And I was wondering if you was at work. Yeah, I was at work. I get away with murder, though, at my job. I can't lie. Some of them are probably watching this live right now and laughing at it because everybody knows I get away with murder at my job. But even me moving to Arkansas is just another form of me getting away with murder. But I do my thing when it comes to work. So that is one of the reasons. But yeah, that was a long conversation. Bowser Bully Yard Canada said, any good book recommendations? Working Pitbull, Diane Jessup, Carl Semensic. Any other recommendations are appreciated from anyone. I would always run to Richard Stratton because you get the truth of the pit bull. Diane Jessup, well, you know what? I shouldn't say anything, but I'm gonna say it because there's no way for her to recognize it by name. But I used to have issues with her when I first. Some of you know I have the group Dogs of Grit, and back in the day, I had a website they called Dogs of Grit, and I used to talk about a lot of things. And there was something I posted, and I remember in the website, and I remember her sending me this cease and desist. And my thing was like, I'm not going to cease and desist anything. I'm just telling the truth. And then I got another one from Diane Jessup. So I think she's a great wealth of knowledge when it comes to the Pit Bull Terrier, but she is more along the lines of drive and prey drive, I would say, play drive, performance, competition. But I think if you really, really want to get the truth on the American Pit Bull Terrier, the best thing to do would be to Richard Stratton has some good books. You know what? YouTube, I haven't looked at them in a while. You can Google a lot of the old school breeders. Some of them have done, my mind's going blank as into which ones, but some of them have done YouTube, or there's old videos that they've done that have made their way on YouTube. And that's a great source too. But I'm going to always run with Richard Stratton because he wrote the book as he was learning the breed. And so to me, I don't think there's really any books that have been written better than that aspect of it. It's not just set facts. People don't want to really do any work. I get asked for pics of dogs all the time. People don't realize my collection of pics got so big due to part of my research. There you go. And shout out to Sinatra. He makes a post. If you go on Facebook and you put hashtag bring back the bully, Sinatra has a lot of posts where he's just showing all the pictures that he's taken from, living in LA, California, and everything that was going on in the bully world, because everybody knows the West Coast, especially Southern Cali, was a huge influence on where we are today in the bully world. And he's got some great pictures. My only complaint about Sinatra is you have to ask him the name. He just puts bring back the bully. He posts the dog. You know it's a dog because you can tell it just ain't today's type of picture. And then when you ask him, he'll tell you. But he don't tell you unless you ask, which is my only complaint. Pitbull Bell said if you can find certain Richard Stratton, exactly. Books, few by Fat Bill's another good one. That didn't even hit my mind. There was a tribute book Stratton did, very educational. I don't think I've seen that. You got to hit me with that one, Belinda, because I don't think I've seen the tribute book that he did. Or I probably may have it and didn't realize that's what it was. And yes, you can apply it to the bully. Exactly. And that's what people have to realize. If there's a trait about a dog that you don't like, but you learn about that trait, it makes it easier to breed away from it or prevent yourself from getting it. And that's the thing that people have to really think about when it comes to learning the breeds that make up our breed, or any breed that you plan on breeding. Mike, you about to cook something? I was gonna say close up. I think it's bugs getting in through the little holes in there. But you know what? Leave it open for right now. It's closed? Okay, perfect. Slayer pit, exactly, but that's what this breed is starting to turn to, is color breeding or weight breeding. Yeah. It's funny? When we first got into this 5 years ago, weight was the big thing. And I remember thinking that's going to be the biggest mistake to this breed. And then that kind of faded and other mistakes came in. And then now all of a sudden, weight, I'm starting to see more and more, people bragging about the weight of the dog, and the dog just looks like a pile of crap. So it's very, very true. Beth B said the sad reality is most breed just for color and huge as shit about structure. We're leaving it out. That's the problem. We're forgetting about structure, and people will go to a badly structured dog to get what they want rather than go to a structured dog to get what they need, and then to find, then eventually work their way up to where they need to be. Damian Voss, what's up, man? Most people are looking for the easiest way instead of putting in the time. Good looking out for the education. Much love. Hey, much respect back to you. Hopefully everything is going well. Pitbull Bell said color chasing is a huge problem. Yes, because it just brings back the bad traits into the breed. Let's see. What was the next topic? All right. How important is your breed? Tony Ma said things to do in the winter with your dog inside the house. I live in California, so that's not much of an issue. One thing that does happen here in Cali is we do get rains. And the worst thing is when we get long periods of rain. And so it's raining off and on. It's mud outside. You got a long dog and you want to figure out things to work with. So years ago, and plus the fact that I did once live in an apartment. It was a 2-bedroom apartment. I took the master bedroom. My roommate moved out because we got into it with the local gang. I refused to move out. So when he moved out, I took the master bedroom, and I had two kennels in there. I had a big, huge tub that I could do swimming with the dogs. And then I took over the small bedroom, and that's where I slept. So I ended up learning quick how to maneuver, condition my dogs inside. What I would say is this, beyond just taking them for walks and runs on a bike. When it comes to cold weather, rainy weather, whatever it is you have to deal with, the first thing I would always say, wrestling. Wrestle with your dog, have a good time. You need to be able to teach. And the thing about wrestling with a dog is two things. One, what I call doggy self-defense. And then two, um, the dog needs to learn inhibition, needs to learn when it's doing too much, when it's going too far. And wrestling with your dog is the best way to teach it because its other litter mates were teaching it that when it was a pup. And the mom is also teaching that when it's a pup. So, so one, it teaches what do they call bite inhibition. Because when that dog bites too hard, you stop playing for about 30 seconds, tell it no, stop playing for about 30 seconds, then get back to roughhousing. Dog bites you too hard again while it's playing, stop playing for about 2 minutes. Eventually, you get up to 5 minutes, and that dog will definitely learn. Okay, and then you get back to playing. That dog will definitely learn. The other thing is when you bite me too hard, I smack you back, and then I stop playing and say no and stop playing with you, and it becomes difficult to get you to re-engage with playing. That will teach you a lot about the dog in front of you. You'll also learn how to get inside that dog's mind and get it to re-engage with playing. So there's a lot you can learn from that. When you are wrestling with your pup, the doggy self-defense part, teach the dog to touch its legs, to tuck its legs. Any of you that have been out there that have ever wrestled, done MMA, jujitsu, one of the starting things is you're up on your feet and you're kind of squatted down and you're looking how to go in. You'll see that hand motion of looking to get in. And you'll see some people will smack the hand. Some people will keep putting the hand out there to test. My uncle used to wrestle heavy in high school and college. And I used to watch my uncle as a kid. Used to watch him out the window. He had a red-nosed pit bull named Slits. And he and that dog, when you first looked at them, it looked like they were just going at it. After a while of watching the rhythm of their movement, I started to realize that there was a rhythm to it. It started to more turn into a dance as I watched him and his pit bull go at it. Him and Slits go at it. So I ended up also noticing he would reach in and he would grab the dog by the chest, just quick grabs, the neck, grab the leg. If he got the leg, he held on to it for a slight longer second, and then he let it go and would continue. Eventually, you would see Slits lunging and going at him, but also tucking his leg. My uncle went for his leg. You notice him tucking his leg, and he catch my uncle by the arm. I started incorporating that when I started, getting into breeding and training and conditioning dogs. The other reason for teaching them to tuck their legs. So you're roughhousing with your dog, you're in the living room and you're grabbing at its legs. Your dog will start to learn to tuck its legs. This gives you as a breeder something to think about because my female, this puppy learned it in 10 seconds. This pup learned it in 10 hours. Matter of fact, it took 10 days. You kind of know what you're dealing with when you're breeding for temperament and cognition and ability. So it's something to think about when it comes to teaching dogs to tuck their legs while you're having that wrestling period. It also teaches the dog to avoid bites and counter at the same time when you're reaching to get that chest, that neck, that leg. Why do I call it puppy self-defense? When your dog gets out in the real world, some dude's Doberman, German Shepherd, Pit Bull, whatever gets loose, you have now been conditioning your dog on how to respond to these things so that your dog can defend itself better. From the play that it did when it was a pup, what happens is dogs learn to defend themselves perfectly by roughhousing with their litter mates and then also with their mom, especially as they get a little older and they start roughhousing with their mom. Then all of a sudden they get sold to us and all that ends. And next thing you know, we're walking our dog. Another dog comes charging down the street. Fight takes place. The first mistake the average person makes is they never roughhouse with their dog on their own, and those that didn't do it correctly. The second mistake a person makes is not dropping that leash so that the dog can properly defend itself. But that's one thing you can do inside. Another thing you can do inside, use that time for obedience training. Obedience training Behavior training comes natural to us because the dog misbehaves, and then we do what it takes to make the dog not do it. Or we get a trainer who can help us with that. Or you hit me up for consultations and I help you with it. Obedience training, which is something I don't do over the phone because it's just boring to me, teaching how to teach a dog to sit, stay down, and all the roll over, play dead, all these other things. I'm just never been into obedience training. Learned it, so I do help people with that training, but it's just not my cup of tea because mentally it doesn't stimulate me. But as far as obedience training, that is your perfect time to spend some time with the dogs that you're breeding. Your litter, teaching them to sit, stay, and make sure you teach to stay before you teach to sit. Stay should be the dog standing. Those of you who have worked dogs, when I would take the dogs out hunting coyotes, and I'd have that start hitting that coyote collar, and I had that lure flopping around in the middle of the field, and the coyotes see it, I would teach the dogs to stay, and they would just stand their stand. Not Floyd, he had to stay on leash because he was retarded. But the other two dogs knew just to stay there and watch. They would see the coyote coming in, and then finally I give them the command and they head out. When I knew the coyote was within 20 to 30 yards, I knew Kayla would be able to catch it, and bam, she went and did her thing. And the lure was probably about 20 to 30 yards out. But I needed her to be standing. I didn't want her to sit, and in that first motion, we as humans see a dog sitting and then it goes to start coming after something. We look at it, the dog was sitting, then all of a sudden it started running. Animals don't look like that. They notice every little thing. So they notice sit, stand, then you started running. So, or sit, jump, then you started running. So I always wanted the dog to stay so that all you saw was running when it was coming at you. And so teach the dog also, for those who show their dogs, teach the dog to stay standing. So teach the dog to stay before you teach the dog to sit. And in that way, when you're in that show ring or you're trying to train your dog to stack, you can tell it to stay so that it understands to be still, but it doesn't sit down. And now you're trying to figure out how to get it to learn to stand back up again. But obedience training is something that's good to do in the house, so that way we can learn how quickly our dogs are able to understand the things that we try to teach it. Laser lights. This little thing right here shines a light. I'm gonna blind you all real quick. This little thing right here with the light. Laser lights. They are perfect also for again, teaching dogs to I mean, for exercising your dog in the house. Even if you got a full-grown XL, find your biggest room with the most space, and you can run that laser light all around. You can make it go behind the couch and make it disappear, and then the dog's trying to figure out where the hell it went, make it come from the other side of the couch. Laser lights are great workout in the house for dogs. What else? A ball that bounces. You can, if your wife's not going to get mad at you bouncing the ball off the wall, because you have less room and that ball has to bounce. You need something for it to bounce off of. You're going to build muscles and agility because the dog has to maneuver more in a small space. Next thing that's a good thing is scent tracking. Find your dog's favorite toy, let it play on it, slobber it up. I've got rabbit scent, bobcat scent, boar scent, bear scent, or just find your dog's favorite toy, let it slobber it up, and then drag it somewhere and hide it behind something. Put your dog somewhere else where it can't see, or have somebody hold the dog. You drag it into a room and just place it in the middle of the room. Then let your dog off leash, tell him to find it. At some point, even though the dog saw you take it in that room, at some point, because the dog can't see it, if the dog's cognition is working properly, at some point it will drop its nose just because it saw that thing being dragged. So tie a string to it, drag it. The better the dog gets, the more complicated you make it. Eventually, you get to the point where you don't have to drag it. The dog learns to sniff the air. So those are things that you can do inside to work the mind and body of your dog. That's about as much as I can think of when it comes to doing inside things during the winter months to keep your dog stimulated and exercise. Also, of course, if you got a treadmill, that's one. Like I told you guys, I used to have this big tub that I'd have water going into it, probably about 4 feet deep. I had a brace going over the top of it. It was like 3 or 4 PVC pipes together, and then they're all crazy glued together and strapped together. And then I had a leash coming from that going down into the tub, and the dogs would just swim into that. And they were addicted to it. As soon as I start messing with that, they couldn't wait to jump in there so they could swim. So just be creative. You just got to be creative, is the main important thing to it. But those are things that hopefully can help you guys that do go through, especially those of you that go through bad winters. Let me get back to the comments and see. I'm probably like 2 hours behind in the comments. Let's see. Pitbull Bell said, right, Sinatra, been enjoying the pictures you've been dropping on your page. Yes, check that out. Go to Facebook, type in hashtag bring back the bully. And a lot of Sinatra's old school pics will come out. That's definitely a man you want to follow. Solo, have you watched Dr. Hutchinson webinar on breeding? Great info. I haven't had the chance to really sit and watch him a while ago, because I never had to deal with progesterone tests and AIs and all that stuff until I got into Bullies. And he was actually one of the first people that I think I came across. As a matter of fact, one of the things that he stated in one of his live was how your vet will tell you the best time to breed the dog is when they hit a 12, a 10, 17, a 15, whatever your vet says for the AI, when they hit that progesterone level. And what I learned from watching one of his YouTube videos was he was saying there's no science in that. The only science we have when it comes to progesterone tests is that when the dog hits a 5, we know at that point the female is dropping eggs. And then I don't remember how long ago it was that I watched that. Actually, you know what? I think that was an article. It might have been an article by him that I saw online. I don't know that it was a video, but I do remember he was the one that did that article. But basically what he was saying is that when the dog hits a 5, we know she's dropping her eggs. Scientifically, we know that. Scientifically, we know it takes those eggs 48 hours from her hitting that 5 and dropping those eggs for those eggs to soften up so that they can be fertilized by the sperm. So his thing was when between a 6 and a 7 is when the dog should be bred. Anything after that is your vet guessing. So that was kind of his thing. He wouldn't give a specific number. He was just saying, off of the science, we know progesterone test hits a 5, she's dropping her eggs. 48 hours from there, scientifically, we know that it takes 48 hours for the eggs to soften up so that they can be fertilized. And anything after that, your vet is just guessing. So you need to, best thing to do about it is to kind of track your females. Let me plug my phone in. But so I have seen a few of his articles. I want to say I've seen a few of his YouTubes, but I haven't. And I'm glad you even brought him up, because he was somebody that I meant to go back and really start listening to his lives. So I'm glad you actually brought that up. Bossed Up Bully Camp, what's up, Trevi? Thanks for joining in, brother. Booster Bam said, facts, I'm here for the knowledge. The Corso man, there you go. Welcome to the Cane Corso Breeders. Eric Maxwell, books are great, but for the sake of breed, I'm glad so many get their education from or YouTube. I think it. I'm trying to figure out who was the most popular person or personality to follow. And now I start to see that there's more and more people that are getting into it strictly, and they're strictly just looking to learn. They don't want to be under anybody's wing. They could care less about the most popular kennel and the most popular dog to breed to. They want to learn, so they want to do this right. So there's a slow evolution. So all of y'all that were sitting at the top of the pyramid scheme, excuse me, pyramid's about to crack. And when it does crack, these dogs are going to get better. Let's see. Pitbull Bell said, Beth, yes, ma'am. There's so many things that need to be applied and so many things that need to stop so much to save these dogs. I agree 100%. If anyone says anything to me and I miss it, ask again. Sometimes not all comments show and sometimes they move fast. I agree. And yes, I'm glad you said that, because that's something I try to remind people of. I do try to hit all the comments. Like I said, Belinda Pitbull Bell is a great asset to being on my lives. There's a few other people. Jasmine's another one. Betsy's another one. Betsy's on here, a spirit writer. These are people that have been dealing with this bully breed in this community a long time. But Belinda's going to have a lot of answers for the questions that you have. And matter of fact, so for example, Belinda's comment that I'm on right now was at 5:48. It's 6:53. So I'm an hour behind you guys in the comments. So she's definitely someone that will get to you faster than I will. And this is why I want to do the clubhouse thing, because now we're all at the same period and doing the same thing. But let's see what the next topic was, because I forget. Now I got to go back to Giant XL American Bully Breed 2.0 group. Okay. Alexandria Marie said, reactivity versus aggression, how to tell the difference and what to do about both. All right. Reaction and aggression, which kind of goes into the last and final topic, which is human aggression, dog aggression, and accountability. Reactivity versus aggression and how to tell. What did she say? Reactivity versus aggression and how to tell the difference and what to do about both. Okay, so how to tell the difference and what to do. Main thing is pay attention to body language. Body language is the only language of dogs. Growling, by the time a dog growls, it's too late. By the time a dog barks, it's already too late. It's already aware of what's going on. Growling and barking. Growling is not as much of a signal. It's half signal, but also half the dog preparing itself for possibly what's about to take place. Building up that energy. No different than when we lift weights, you grunt and all these other things. Barking is something that man has bred into dogs so that they will alarm us. Wolves, wild dogs in Africa only bark when they are puppies or when they get extremely excited. Every now and then it's to communicate, especially if one drifts away from the pack or whatever. But it is more a signal than it is an actual form of what you would say communication. Dogs' true communication is through the body. Positioning of the ears, positioning of the eyebrows, positioning of the lips, the tongue, if it's panting, if it licks the lips real quick, if it licks the nose, or if it licks across the lips. These are all different signals. The posture, foot stance, the head's going this way, but the feet are slightly faced that way, and you don't have easty-westy, chances are the dog is really more focused on what's over there, even though it's not looking that way, because if it looks that way, then it triggers a reaction by the other dog or whatever it is going on over there. So the tail lift, or how high the tail is compared to being high or being low. These are all things that a dog notices. The amount that the chest is sticking out, the shoulder width apart. These are things that a dog notices in other dogs and are forms of communication. It is why humans, we focus on words. We ignore a lot of facial things, which is why we greet each other face to face. You know, we learn, especially as boys learn as young men, you know, when you meet somebody, you shake their hand, you look them straight in the eye. Well, in the animal kingdom, looking something in the eye is a challenge. You know what I'm saying? So they more meet at an angle. They come this way, and then they kind of somehow come to an agreement, and then there's this slight this, and then they come to sniff each other. You'll never really see dogs just sniff each other nose to nose. If humans were dogs, we'd be sniffing to the body language of the dog. When it comes to reactivity in dogs, reactivity is just an exaggerated or paranoid reaction to some type of stimulation or situation. It can be genetic, because the dog is naturally tends to come from insecurities. The dog is naturally or genetically predisposed to be reactionary, or it could be environmental, typically meaning the dog has faced some type of trauma. You're going to see it through excessive barking, pacing, panting, things like that are signs of being reactive. And they usually come from different drives: dominance drive, rank drive, territorial drive. Protective drive is also another one. Protective drive can manifest itself backwards into a dog that is extremely reactive and fearful. So if the dog is not bred correctly, to turn that into a offense fight, it can have an extreme flight drive when it comes to its protective or defensive drive. So that's what you want to pay attention to when it comes to reactive issues in dogs. It is not necessarily the same as aggression, and we'll get to aggression in a second. The best way to deal with a reactive dog is either avoid those situations or build that dog's confidence in those situations. And the best way to do that is to expose it to those situations, but in a manner that you can control it. That's another question that I should have prepared for. But to give an example, let's say every time the UPS truck drives by, your dog goes crazy, barking, growling, running in fear, whatever it is. You want to get that dog, the best way that you can do and deal with that dog is put that leash on. So the next time the UPS truck comes by, to grab the dog while it's acting up, put the leash on and start molding it from what it's doing. So let's say the dog is barking and growling. You want to get it to stop growling. You might be in the house, still put the collar and the leash on. You want to get it to stop growling, you yank on that collar and you scold the dog, do whatever it is to get it to stop. Next time their UPS truck comes by, the best thing you could do is put that leash on and then take the dog outside. Next best thing you can do is find where the UPS trucks are starting at and drive to that location, get out the car and start walking the dog past these UPS trucks. A lot of times that dog is acting protective when it's in your window. I'm going to kill that UPS truck. But when you get to the UPS location and it actually sees those trucks coming out the yard, dog's temperament kind of changes and it starts to get fearful. And now you get to walk it past that and to bring some treats with you, whatever it is, to make it as pleasant as possible. And you get to see where your dog's true genetic drives are placed at and what their true thresholds are. Now you get to learn your dog's actual temperament. So the best thing to do is to expose the dog to those situations so that you can teach it to ignore those situations. And as I've said, socialization is not about throwing your dog in the middle of the dog park or throwing it in the middle of PetSmart and seeing how it reacts to everybody. Socialization is about your dog not responding and being able to ignore things that are going on. But typically it's going to be some form of dominance drive if a dog's reactionary. So for instance, you walk past the food bowl, dog starts growling. You know his dominance drive has gone to a whole nother level. Because now it's so great dog until you feed it, and then all of a sudden he becomes dominant over his food bowl. These are the type of dogs that, one, you're going to have to, and we're going to get into it in a little bit, but let the breeder know your dog that I bought from you has issues. But you're going to have to figure out a way. I'm not going to advise it for you to be able to get that food from that dog without running, without snatching it, and that dog backs off. The average person, and the reason I don't like going into detail with it is because I don't want somebody listening to what I'm saying. They try it, and the next thing you know, they get bit. But the average person, if you got a dog that's overall friendly but becomes protective over food, that's one of the easiest things for me to, in training and behavior training, to eliminate in a dog, including in your dog. So, but you want to basically make yourself a barrier between that and the food and get it from it. Now, don't try it unless you've done it before and you're experienced with doing it, because there are dogs, as you try to create that barrier, they will snap at you, bite you, whatever it is. So make sure you deal with a professional. You can always hit me up. That's an easy one that you can always hit me up for a consultation, and I'll walk you through exactly what you need to do. When it comes to consultations, they are best when it comes to behavioral issues. If you can have somebody film the dog doing what it's doing while you're doing what it takes to trigger the dog into doing what we're going to be working on the dog doing. But definitely that is, those are different triggers when it comes to reaction. So I think when it comes to reactional issues, your best thing is to expose the dog to what it is so that you can correct it. Next best thing is avoiding what is causing it to have these reactions. The problem with avoiding is you don't get to correct it because you're avoiding the issue. When it comes to aggression in dogs, that typically is not so much environmental as it is in genetics. Prey drive is not aggression. If your dog runs across the street and kills your neighbor's cat, that does not make your dog an aggressive dog. That makes him a dog. You just need to put him on leash or teach him not to kill the neighbor's cat anymore, or put him in a fence, whatever it takes. But that is not aggression. Prey drive is not aggression. What can lead to aggression is a dog's threshold for protective drive, defensive drive, fight drive, rank drive, dominance drive. These are things that can start with aggression. The difference between an aggression is just the act of bringing initiating physical contact to harm. Now, the harm might be good because I might be defending myself, or it may be bad because I might be bullying you or beating you up for no reason. Excuse me. So that's what you want to know the difference. Typically, a reactionary dog is a fearful dog. You're going to notice the dog trying to make itself smaller, meaning it's leaning the ears back, the tail will tuck, the dog will squat low, still might be growling, but it will try to make itself smaller. True aggression through those drives, the dog makes itself bigger, makes a firm stance, tail is up, ears are straight up. That is when you'll know true aggression. The furthest form of aggression is there's no signals. I always get Floyd as an example. My Rottweiler was a human aggressive dog. As long as he was on leash and you took him out in public, he was perfect. When at home or in environments where it was like just me and my homies kicking it, especially when we was at a park or something drinking and he was with us, when somebody would come walking, if he didn't know who it was, he'd start growling. He was ready to go, but he would make himself big. Another level of aggression that's even higher than that would be like a Floyd, some of your game pits, where there are no displays of aggression. There is no hair standing up on the back. There is no tail getting higher. It's just wagging. They're not barking. They're not growling. All you hear is them. The only noise coming from their mouth is them panting, or them. And the other noise you hear is them scratching at the dirt or the ground to get at whatever they were trying to get at. That's a whole nother level of aggression. Rarely are you going to find that in American bullies. Rarely are you going to find that in any breed that is not heavy American pit bull terrier from game lines. So that is kind of your difference when it comes to aggression. Can come from a reactive dog, but it tends to be fear when it comes from a reactive dog. And you'll notice fear traits, again, pacing, licking the lips, tuck tail. You'll notice various traits that show lack of confidence. What else would I say about that? I think the main thing to understand, one, I can't fix, if there's a behavioral issue that you're asking that question about, I can't fix that in a live. Like I said, that's more of a consultation issue. Because I also need to understand what you're seeing and what's triggering it. If it's something quick, then I don't consider it a consultation. I just consider it a phone conversation. But if it requires a process of work then I look at that as a consultation, and we can do that anytime if that's an issue you're having. But it's easier to get more details and that without it being without it pulling away from everything else that's going on in the live. Let's see here, and it's kind of like when somebody says they make a post, how do I get my dog big? Well, what do you mean by big? More muscle, more bone, um, more fat, feed it more, certain exercises, certain types of conditioning, breed it to a bigger dog. You know, it's hard to give an answer when you don't know exactly. And somebody to say that on Facebook, how do I get my dog big? And my first question is always, what do you mean by big? But my question comes after 300 comments of telling them that have told them what to do, and nobody truly knows what it is they're looking for, and there's no picture of the dog to even go by. Let me go to the comments before we get into the last one so I can get somewhat caught up on them. James Galloway, exactly. I don't get the weight part either. 100+ pound dogs that can be used but can he use the muscle? Exactly. I agree 100%. Brandon Maxey, when are you going to bring Pitbull Bell on the line? You know what? That's funny you say that. That's a good idea. So now we're going to put the pressure on Belinda. Belinda, we need to do a live one day and go on here and we could just handle like random questions or something. That's a good idea. So that's a great idea. I like that. Pitbull Bell said hands-on trial and error is where you're going to learn the most according to your research. But research before you ever get to a dog is most important. Exactly. Tuxedo Pitbull said I have a black trindle out of my brindle piebald dam and my blue. You guys in these color questions. All right. I have a black trindle. And it's funny, all these new names. We just used to call it black and tan, and then all of a sudden, Bullies started calling it tri. But and there's another thing. This fun argument I used to have with bully breeders. When I was young, a tri dog was like a beagle, 3 different colors. Didn't have to have the tan points. If you had a pit bull that was I don't know. That's what we call tri dogs, dogs that had 3 colors. Most of those dogs had kind of a cow pattern to them, like beagles, things like that. Then, and when you had a dog, other than Dobermans, Rottweilers, things like that, they were called black and tan. And when it had the markings, which typically were pit bulls, which came from the black and tan terrier, that was a game terrier back in the day. And then all of a sudden, black and tan became tri. And then people used to argue with me and say they're the same genetic. And I would say, yeah, they might be the same genetics, but those old dogmen back then weren't studying genetic alleles and all that other stuff. They were looking at what they had. So back then, if you had today, if you get a dog that's got the tri markings, and then it's all white chest, we call it a tri. Back then, you would say it's a black and tan with a white chest. So it's just funny how lingo kind of evolves over time, the etymology of words. Pitbull Bell, they crop here at 7 to 12 weeks. Okay, so that should be done earlier. Eric Maxwell said, reading a book called Canine Behavior doesn't sound entertaining, but these lives can get pretty exciting sometimes and captivates those that aren't as likely to read a boring book. I feel you. Max Cyborg said, what age is too late to crop dog ears? It depends on your state. You need to find out, call your local vet that crops and ask them, or ask your local breeders. It depends on your state. I want to say California is, I want to say 4 weeks. I want to say 4 weeks. For some reason, the number 14 is in my head. I mean, 4 months. My bad. I want to say 4 months is California. And I know some do 14 weeks. Kyan, what's up, man? Thanks for joining in. Eric Max said, Max, that's going to depend on the vet, but I wouldn't do it past 16 weeks. There you go. Brandon, if I allow, bringing me on could be. Nah, I think it would be a good idea. Max Cyborg said depends on your vet. Some won't after 12 weeks. Again, depends on your vet. Some won't after 6 months. Let's see here. Kai Bug 13. Yo, can you breed a dog back to his daughter? Can you breed your male back to his daughter? Yes, it is possible, but it should only take place. Any type of inbreeding should only take place when everything is perfect. That means temperament, that means ability, the structure, everything is as close to perfect as you can possibly get it in the dogs that you have in your yard or the dogs that you have access to. Um, Other than that, I would not do a father-daughter breeding unless you knew that the structure and temperament and everything was on point. Doesn't mean you won't have any corrections, but they need to be as on point as possible. Otherwise, you're going to make it harder to breed away from those things. Do not, though, do a father-daughter breeding because you don't feel like paying for another stud. That don't do that. That's a no-no. Make sure it's because you have close to perfection in temperament and in structure. Don't do it because it's the easiest thing for you to do next. Kai Bug, Pitbull Bell said, Kai Bug, yes, you can breed back to father and is more encouraged than breeding back to mom. That's another thing. Breeding back to the mom causes you to get too many of the mother's hopefully my volume causes you to get too many of the mother's genetics due to the fact males will carry more of her genetic information than they do the father's. So breeding back to father tends to be the best thing to do. But again, make sure the dogs are good in temperament and in structure. Kybug 13, yes, you can. It is a tight inbreed, so you want to make sure the pair are perfect. Exactly. Eric Maxwell said, flying has gotten a lot better nowadays. I brought a Rottweiler home from Germany in 1996 and had to put him to sleep the day after getting stateside due to the plane's ride. Wow. See, I am very leery of flying dogs. When we move to Arkansas, we're going to be driving out with our dogs. My cousin's going to be probably rolling with us or coming shortly after. I think my dad's going. We just want to have as many cars as possible to bring the dogs as possible that we need. I'm just leery of a dog being on the bottom cargo of a plane because I've never been in the cargo area of a plane, so I don't know what goes on there. Matter of fact, last time we went to Arkansas, there were two dogs, I think, that came off the plane. Matter of fact, one with my son, and this last time there was actually two pointers when me and my dad went out that came off the plane. But they were fine. They looked fine, but I'm just leery of it. Damian Voss says, sorry, bro, I've been in trucking school, missed a lot of lives, but hopefully I'll be able to transport multiple dogs across the country. So, all right, there you go. I'm gonna be hitting you up too. So that's good. I've been hearing a lot about trucking and a lot of people getting into it and making a lot of money doing it. Big Bully said, good game. 862 said, does the feeling being unsure when pulling the trigger on choosing a stud ever go away? No, it doesn't go away. Matter of fact, even when you do it and those pups look great, it doesn't go away until you finally see that pup at like a year old. That's when it's like, ha, good job, I got it. Other than that, nah, it never goes away. Get used to it. Let's see. Belinda Pitbull Bell said, no, when you type breed, it needs to be a good, complete outcross so you can safely come back in. That's another thing to think about before you do that father-daughter breeding. Know exactly what dog you're going to outcross to afterwards. That's going to carry on those good traits that are causing you to want to do the father-daughter breeding. Gary Phillips said 2 tri-carriers can produce a tri. Okay, that's what I was wondering. So 2 tri-carriers that are not showing tri can produce a dog that shows tri. That's what I was wondering. So Bully said, what up, everybody? What's up, Smooth? Thanks for joining in. Big Bully Pitts, Daryl spit a freestyle to close us out. That is not happening. 862 said, not 100% what you're asking, but I think you know, and if so, no, the feeling never goes away. Because if doing it right, there's always the question of, am I going in the right direction? Exactly. All right, last topic was, what was the last topic? My mind totally went blank. Hold on, let me get back to the group. What was the topic? Oh, human aggression, dog aggression, and accountability. Responsibility as a breeder versus an owner, and how should the community handle it? I look at flaws in a dog the same way I look, which is, human aggression, the same way I look at other issues that take place in our community. When it comes to accountability, it all starts with the breeder. You guys have heard me say the formula for breeding dogs is form follows function, function follows purpose, purpose follows the breeder. You as a breeder are deciding you've decided the two dogs to breed, you've decided who the offspring of those dogs go to. So when it comes to accountability and it comes to human aggression and dog aggression, you as the breeder, you're responsible. And I know a lot of times we like to blame the owners, but the owner got the dog from the breeder. Let's say the owner got the dog from somebody who got the dog from the breeder. You as the breeder, decided to give it to that person. You started that domino effect. So you're responsible to who your dogs go to for the well-being of your dog. You're also responsible to who your dogs go to and the dogs that you breed for the well-being of society as a whole. The breeder, like I said, is accountable. You bred the dog, you chose the environment and the home that it was going to be placed in. It's the owner's responsibility to let the breeder know of issues. You get a dog from a breeder, especially if you're a breeder, it is your responsibility to go back to that breeder and let them know there's an issue. Gonna give you an example. For instance, we got King of Diamonds from a breeder that I stopped associating with. And not anything that he did bad. It was just, he never promoted King's father as a stud. And whenever we would post a picture of King, I don't think we ever promoted him as a stud, but whenever we would post a picture of King, he would be right under that picture, posting the dad and hit me up if you want another dog just like King. So it became a lie. We knew King 1 was the 5th largest pup in his litter. King eventually became the largest pup in his litter. He also became larger than his dad. He's never going to be recreated. He was an anomaly. The guy even started kind of trying to go out and breed to other kennels that were known for just breeding these massive sloppy dogs. But that's not going to produce King. King can jump in and out of trucks and everything at 165 pounds and 26 and a half to 27 inches tall. None of those dogs can do the things that King is capable of. So King was an anomaly. Could his brothers and sisters do the same things he was capable of? Yes, but they didn't have his size. One of King's brothers, litter mates, champed out, ABKC. So, you're not going to produce that again. And to me, it felt like I'm putting something out here and he's coming beneath just showing a picture of King. And then here he comes saying that if you want to get what you're seeing, come to me. And I know you're not able to produce it again because the guy that King's mom no longer associates the guy who owned King's mom was from Muscle Tone, and he no longer associated with King, or the guy who owned King's father, Deuce. So you're not going to be able to produce that litter again. Therefore, King's never happening again, and you can do that same breeding 10 times, and you're still probably not going to produce King. He was nowhere in his litter. He was an anomaly. So I stopped associating with him. I eventually told him to cut it out. He didn't take me seriously. And I only told him, cut it out if you're not going to promote King's father. If you're going to promote King's father on your own, which we were promoting King's father, but if you're going to promote King's father on your own, then cool. But I don't need you piggybacking every single post that I make and becoming a distraction to it. And it would be posts of King running through the yard, especially when he was first living in Arkansas. And here he come trying to sell his stud fees. So eventually I blocked him. He's one of a few people that I have blocked. But I only block people if I realize you're about to take me out of character, or I'm about to make that call, because I have a job and have friends who can find anybody. So if I feel I'm about to do something out of character, or that I don't need to be doing, and I'm about to make that call to send somebody to whatever state, because I'm going to be at home in bed when it all takes place, then now those are the people I block. Because you're not getting me, none of my homies, none of my little homies in any trouble because of the American Bully game. So if I feel it's getting to that point where the respect is being lost, then I'll block you. That way I have nothing to worry about. My homies have nothing to worry about. My little homies have nothing to worry about. And I can just keep being the nice guy that I want to be on Facebook. But when it's all said and done, you know, if somebody were to, let's say King were to attack somebody, I would have to unblock him, and then I would have to let him know, hey, King just attacked somebody for no reason, blah, 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 blah. Let's say King, I don't know, what else can a dog do that's bad? Is attacking dogs for no reason, jumping fences and attacking dogs. I know that wasn't his intent when he made that breeding that produced King. So it would be my responsibility to unblock that same guy and let him know, hey, I know you and I ain't on the same terms. I know we ain't cool. We don't see eye to eye. I just, as a breeder and as an owner of the dog that I got from you, it's my responsibility to let you know that this is what has taken place, so that you don't get it from the rumor mill. Or I don't keep it a secret and nobody knows, but then I continue breeding King to other dogs. So I think we in the American Bully world need to take accountability for these dogs as the breeders, and as the owners. It's your responsibility to let breeders know the issues that you're dogs that you got from them. And if you get a dog from somebody that doesn't want to hear about issues that you're having, you never should have got a dog from them. Anybody that's ever gotten a dog from me over the last 20, 30 years can always hit me up and ask me about that dog. Well, they can ask me about any dog that they've gotten, but especially if you bought a dog from me. But if you still got a dog from me, my last litter before Bullies is probably about, how long was Floyd and Sasha's last litter? What was that, about 6 years ago? Probably about 6 years ago. So those people, well, we got into Bullies 5 years ago. So that last litter was probably about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. But anyway, those pups, I'm still in contact with those people. They can call me at any time for any issues, and I remind them, let me know if there's any issues. Some of those dogs are doing catch work on hogs. Some of those dogs are just regular in-house pets protecting their family. And some of those dogs from that litter, two of those dogs from that litter, are being used to guard basically I don't want to call it a junkyard, because I know that's not what he has, but he basically has a lot of cars where he gets car parts from those cars to fix other people's cars. And so therefore he has all these cars at this big, huge facility in the middle of downtown LA. And, but all of them can call me and ask me any questions to make sure that, you know, I'm aware of what took place from the breeding that I did back then. It is the breeder's responsibility to take that dog back if that dog is a problem. It is the breeder's responsibility to not breed that dog again if that is a problem. And it is the breeder's responsibility to decide if that dog needs to be put down for any aggression type issues. I do not agree in putting dogs down for dog aggression, especially if you made the decision to get into any form of bull bred breed, including American bullies. If a dog is dog aggressive and that's not what you want, then you don't breed that dog, but he can be your favorite pet. If the dog is dog aggressive, but he's got everything you want except for that, you need to find a dog that is not dog aggressive, breed to that dog with an understanding of you and that breeder, that this is going to be a litter that I'm going to have to hold on to, or we're going to have to hold on to till they're a year old. That means you're going to need to train them, obedience, behavior training. That way, when they're a year old and you're seeing what you're getting from that dog, you can go ahead and say, you know what, the litter's pretty consistent. All the pups are a year old. I think we did a good job breeding out the dog aggression. Now I can go ahead and sell these pups, and I've already behavior trained, done behavioral and obedience training with them and placed them in the correct homes that fit their temperament as year-old dogs. Again, you still need to be aware that that temperament can change from 1 to 2 to 3 years old. So if it means you need to keep the whole litter, then that's what you need to do. But you need to be aware of it, and you need to be responsible. If you're choosing to breed away some form of aggression, then you need to be responsible in the way you do it. And the responsible doesn't mean King just killed somebody yesterday. This dog's friendly, so I'm going to breed King to that dog and then sell those pups to anybody that's willing to buy it. That's not being responsible. You need to guarantee by keeping those pups till they're a year, 2, 3 years old, and putting them in situations where you can test that problem and see if it arises. If it doesn't arise, bam, you still don't want all those pups that you kept, all 10, 6, however many it is. You should have been working with those dogs, training them, behavior training, obedience training, making them something that's worth selling to somebody else, and them being a contribution to someone's home when they take in that dog. If you aren't willing to keep that entire litter, then you shouldn't be doing that breeding when you're trying to breed out, especially human aggression. Dog aggression, again, I don't have a problem with dog aggression, other than you need to be honest about it, and you need to, as a breeder, make sure that it is part of your process. If we're breeding American bullies, then dog aggression should be part of our process in breeding it out. I look at dog aggression as like weak pasterns, or dog needs a little more angulation. You know, it's a flaw. But human aggression is a huge problem, and a dog that is human aggressive should not be bred. And so we need to really think about that. And as a breeder, you need to be willing to take any dog back that has issues and decide whether that dog needs to be put down. Myself, I've had human aggressive dogs. I've had them with my wife and kids. No problem whatsoever at all, because it stays with my family. If I'm going to breed a human aggressive dog, then it's going to be to people who are looking for human aggressive dogs, Rottweilers, Bandogs, etc. People who are looking for protection. But you need to make sure that that family is well informed on it. So again, it's the breeder's responsibility to, what was the topic again? So yeah, it's the breeder's responsibility to keep it and place it in another home that is more experienced. For instance, if I have a human aggressive dog, I can name probably about 8 people that would say, give me that dog. And they'll take it. And I trust those people because I know of their history and their experience with animal aggressive dogs, taking adult dogs that are human aggressive, and molding that dog into, you know, them and to their family. So you really need to know. But the best thing, most people in the bully world don't know someone that can deal with a human aggressive dog. So therefore, you as the breeder need to take that dog and you need to decide what's the best move for you to make, which is not going to be breeding it. It's going to be probably putting it down, unless the dog is cool with you, your family, for whatever reasons, and or you're single and you don't mind taking that dog in. But the dog has to be removed from those situations that trigger those drives, in that negative reaction of human aggression. The community needs to also avoid building their, how am I going to say this? There was a situation that took place, a couple situations. One had to do with a dog biting someone. Another had to do with a breeder that was apparently, allegedly, as they say on Clubhouse, when you get into some of the street and gang rooms in Clubhouse, they like to say allegedly. I did this allegedly. So allegedly, someone was not taking care of dogs. It blew up. It was all over Facebook, and it even, you know, kind of hit like, you know, ASPCA, and they made a couple posts. Animal Control made a couple posts regarding it. And next thing you know, everybody in the bully community is posting it, and everybody's like, I used to like her. I used to respect this person. I used to like this person, and now I can't stand them. Other people are, this is what the bully community needs to stand up against. Everybody needs to be made aware of this. Some of y'all I like, you my friends, but all y'all full of shit. I'm just going to say it. All you motherfuckers is out there trying to build up your algorithms. That shit reminds me of when somebody's in a group and they're arguing with somebody, and then all of a sudden they make a post in the group, I'm leaving this group. Kick me out this group. Delete me from this group. Fool, what's up, girly girl? If you want to be out the group, just exit the group. If you really, really want to be out the group, then just remove yourself from the group. It gives you the option to remove yourself from the group. Move, girl. You're getting too heavy. Watch your feet. You remove yourself from the group. You don't have to make an announcement. Here's a problem in the bully world. We like to make these announcements. When I was young, we didn't have no social media. If we knew somebody was breeding jacked up dogs, wasn't taking care of dogs, we jumped on the phone and we either called that person because it was somebody that we truly liked, not Facebook like, and said, hey, this is what I'm hearing, or this is what I saw. Bruh, you got to take care of that. You know what I mean? This can't happen. If you need my help, here I am. I'll assist you in any way I can. I can hit up some other people that can help you. That's how we operated in the real dog world, not the internet dog world. If so-and-so had a dog that bit somebody, hey, so-and-so, we breeding catch dogs. You hear so-and-so's dog attack his neighbor, da-da-da-da-da. You would hit up so-and-so and you would be like, okay, does he do that when he's in the field, or is he only doing that at home? Is that what you're looking for? Because some people want a dog that will bite, but also perform perfectly in the catch world. But if you bring that dog next time we go hunting, you need to make sure everybody's aware, because I'm gonna tell everybody that's with us, like, watch him because he might bite you. You know, when that leash drops, he might bite you. So, but what we're doing now is we're trying to build algorithms. We're trying to get our groups more popular. We're pretending. I watched one post that said, it was such bullshit. It was reaching out to the person and saying basically, hey, you know, hit me up if you need any help. Sorry, this is taking place. I can come get some of the dogs for you, blah, 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 blah. And then when they started seeing all, but it was just them trying to get popular. Because what am I really saying? I've got the facility. I'm a dog breeder, and I've got the facility to take on dogs. And guess what? I care. You don't care. Stop being stupid. But then when it all switched to hate, within 24 hours, that same person was like, oh, yeah, I can't stand her. Da, 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 this is good. This is happening. Blah, 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 blah. All of y'all is full of shit. And some of y'all, I like you. I really do. Some of y'all that was making that post, I like you. I respect you. But you full of shit too. Y'all was all doing that so you could build your algorithms, get your name out there, get that buzz going about yourself, get it shared, and hopefully whoever shares it, and your name's attached to the share. All y'all's full of shit. I get it though, it's y'all social media built, so I get it. But man, that shit don't help the community. It don't do nothing for the community. Matter of fact, it makes it worse, and I'm gonna explain to y'all how. You go promoting a jacked up American bully, a jacked up exotic, a dog with bad temperament. What happens? If it's good enough, then it spreads all over the community. I have seen exotics go from being posted in bully groups as a jacked up exotic to making it all the way to hip hop mainstream websites. Um, and once it hits mainstream, then that's when animal control gets involved. PETA gets involved. Who is PETA? They don't just want us breeding, they don't want us owning pets. They need all breeders to disappear so that everybody's left with the dogs that they have. Then those dogs die, and then guess what? Nobody has dogs anymore. Nobody has goldfish, nobody has cows. No, they don't want anything. So Facebook, who are they in bed with? PETA, major investor. So what happens is we promote this stuff because we want to pretend from the bottom of my heart I care about this breed and these dogs, when the truth is you're full of shit and you're just trying to build your algorithms, because none of y'all are hitting up those people directly. And if you are, and then I saw somebody make a post, I hit this B word directly and da da da, and she blocked me. Ha 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 ha. What's ha 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 about that? Why does the laughing emoji apply to that? When you hit this person directly, were you just cussing them out? Or did you give them some advice that they could use? Like an attorney, because this is a big situation that took place. But y'all don't do that. Y'all put that bullshit. I think I saw one post, and I'm gonna go ahead and give her a shout out, which was Bred. She was the only post that I saw. Now, some of y'all may have made posts that I didn't see. Bred made a post, and it basically said, anyone that gives her the platform to defend herself against what took place with her yard, delete me. That's something to me that is sincere. That is a sincere post to the American bully world. That's something I can respect. Does that mean I wouldn't give her the platform to explain herself? No, I'm going to always do what I want to do. But I can respect that. I can respect why she said it. I can respect how Bred said it. Who don't know who Bred is, she's the one that runs damn, Bred, I just forgot the name of your kennel. I just forgot. She's got one of my favorite dogs. And now my mind went blank on that. Hippie Chick. She's got one of my favorite dogs. So Google, type in on Facebook Bred Hippie Chick, and make sure to follow her. I don't know why I can't think of her kennel. But she also runs XL Bully Nation. So if you get the chance to check out that group, if you're not subscribed to it, definitely check out XL Bully Nation. But that's ran by Bred. But that was the only post that I saw that I could respect. Because she wasn't looking for drama. She was just letting it be known, like, if I see you give this person a platform to defend themselves, I'm deleting you, so you might as well delete me now. And I understand her anger. I understand the emotion behind that. But the rest of y'all was just fishing. And it doesn't help the community, because what happens is you share it trying to build your own little selfish algorithm. Next thing you know, it hits mainstream media. Next thing you know, we're dealing with regulations. We're dealing with legislature. And when legislature gets involved and they start legislating and regulating breedings and breeders, they're going to do it in general. It's not going to be anything specific. They're not going to say, hey, bad people, it's illegal for you to breed dogs. They're going to make it more difficult for everybody to breed dogs. And the best way to do that is to make it more expensive. It's going to be harder to find vets that you want to use, because they're not going to want to get involved in all that, especially when it becomes laws get involved. So the best way that the community can deal with dogs that are a threat to the community as far as aggression or anything else like that, hit that person up directly. Talk to other breeders through Messenger. Making a post is just you trying to get attention. It's all it is. It's all it ever will be, because that's this world. When I was young, love of money was the root of all evil. Today, y'all don't even care about making money to be evil. People are cool with attention. Attention. What do they call it? What do y'all call it? Y'all young people. What do y'all call it? Clout chasing. That's what people are into now. And they don't care if they're broke. They don't care if they ever make a dime off of it. As long as they got some attention off of it, they're just as happy. Bills are still unpaid, but they happy as hell. It's just a backwards society compared to what I'm used to. I don't know, maybe in 20 years there'll be some use for it. I just don't see an issue, a use for it. But that's where we've gotten as a society. So when everybody posts, it eventually goes mainstream. Here's another thing that happens. It's within the bully community. So when it gets outside of the bully community, guess what other dog breeders are doing? They're looking at the bully community and saying, typical bully shit, typical bully breeder. You think AKC is going to get involved with a breed that promotes its flaws? It's not happening. Never going to happen. UKC was forced to be involved with this because we paper hung so many dogs as pit bulls through them. They didn't have no choice. It was the only way they could come up with a separation. So they might as well start making that money. But you think AKC is going to get involved with that? And think of the things we talked about. A breed that won't withhold ribbons, promotes structural flaws, promotes when anything bad happens with another breeder. That's everything AKC stands against. AKC has a little thing. I get an email whenever they have something that's supposed to go out to the community, a newsletter. And they're constantly fighting legislation. Some of that legislation is I agree with, but AKC is constantly fighting it because they get it. Breeding needs to be about breeders, not lawmakers and people who don't breed dogs. Some of these people don't even own dogs. We got people that own cats, have never owned a dog, and they're writing laws based off for dog breeders. That is why AKC fights against a lot of legislation. That is why we need to fight against a lot of legislation. We need to vote as dog breeders, not off all the social shit a lot of the social shit we see going on, but as how does this governor, this mayor, this president, how do they affect me as a dog breeder? What are they going to do that hampers me from putting out the best dogs as possible? Because otherwise what's going to end up happening is they're just going to make it harder to do, more expensive, and you're just going to have people who it was handed to or people who are rich breeding dogs. And I'll tell you right now, rich people are some of the worst dog breeders on the planet. Those who got rich by breeding dogs or made their wealth by breeding dogs are some of the best. But when rich people get into dog breeding, those people who have money already get into dog breeding, they don't have time to really breed dogs. So they start breeding for color and size and head and all that other stuff because they want them dogs to make them just as much money as whatever else it is that made them buy their mansions. So they're the worst people to get into dog breeding. They'll just end up fat dogs with pretty fur. So we as breeders in the American bully community especially, so we can stop being embarrassed by when we tell other breeders that we breed American bullies. So we can stop the legislation that is starting to get stronger and stronger and starting to lean towards our direction. And we're the cause of it. American bully breeders are the cause of it. I do believe some of it is exotics, but if it was never an American bully breeder, you would never have an exotic. If there was never a pocket, somebody trying to say, I want to breed it as short and stocky as possible. There was never a pocket, you would never have an exotic. So whether it's exotics, American bullies, whatever it is, us American bully breeders are the blame for it. And we got to stop promoting our flaws as dogs and our flaws as a community. When you truly want to get at somebody, you truly think something's going wrong, you truly see something going wrong. In case you're wondering what that is in the background, my son does MMA when he's fighting and when he's stirring, whatever it is he's stirring over there. But if you want to truly fix the problems in this community, it's about breeders talking to breeders, not breeders talking to pet buyers, not breeders talking to the world, not me trying to build my algorithms. It's about me using Messenger or picking up that phone and saying, hey, I understand this is what's going on. What's the details? Or how can I help? Or how the hell did you get in this crazy ass stupid situation? So I can inform other breeders how to avoid this. Obviously, I figured it out already, but I also haven't figured out how to get into a stupid situation. So that's what it's about, because what typically it's emotions behind it. You know what I'm saying? Some, I think it was 25 dogs and something like that. Well, at some point, there was fear of letting people know what was going on, or there was some type of selfishness of, I don't want to get rid of dogs. I'm going to do something with this dog. And then all of a sudden you never get around to it. And next thing you know, the dogs are just going downhill. So again, we as bully breeders need to quit using Facebook as a way to build algorithms for ourselves and our kennels. We need to start talking to people independently. We need to start reaching out to people independently. If we hear something, there's nothing wrong with hitting that person up. If you tell me a rumor about somebody, chances are I'm not going to hit them up, even if I mean to. If I do talk to that person, then I'm going to be like, hey, this is what I heard about you. But I'm not going to go post it. When you make a post, you're not trying to educate the community. You're not trying to make the community aware. You are part of the problem. You are trying to build your algorithms. You're trying to be seen. And you'll start to notice those same people. You'll start to notice the track record. You ain't said nothing educational, but now all of a sudden you want to educate the community on an individual. So we want to fix a lot of the problems that we see in the community, whether it's dog aggression, human aggression, bad breeders, whatever it may be. It's us as breeders communicating with each other. There's nothing wrong with us all talking to each other through Messenger. It could be a Messenger group, or it could just be Messenger one by one, by one, by one. That's how I'm used to rumors and conversation taking place. But, so again, I got to give a shout out to Bred, because of all the people that I saw make a post about that situation. She was the only one that I could say, this is sincerity. I can't say that about anybody else's posts, and that includes people that are watching this live, because I've seen some of you in here. That also includes people that that I'm cool with. You know what I'm saying? You just, at some point you got to dig deep inside yourself and admit you making that post was bullshit. And it was strictly for you, your own self gratification, and it participates in other breeders looking down on American bully breeders, and it participates in PETA and legislation getting written that makes what we do more difficult to be done. So that's all I'm gonna say on that topic. Other than I will say, but the main thing is, again, what does it point back to? Us as breeders are the ones that's responsible when it comes to human aggression, dog aggression, things like that. Dog aggression is not necessarily bad. They're dogs. The level of it. If you had an American bully that was, which is going to be impossible, that was as a dog aggressive as Floyd, that's a problem. But if it's average dog aggression, I see this dog over there, I want to fight him, that's not that big of a deal. You just need to breed away from it. And you need to be able to breed away from it by breeding to another dog that is not dog aggressive, that is constantly socialized with other dogs outside of its yard, meaning that it goes to shows or gatherings or things like that. And then you need to be in a position for you and that person to agree, we're going to keep these pups, you and that breeder to agree, we're going to keep these pups for 1, 2, 3 years and see how they operate and put them in those same situations. So for example, if you've got a dog aggressive female and you say, hey, I think King will fix it. I know King will fix it, but I'm not going to breed to your dog, let King breed to your dog aggressive female unless I know you're willing to keep those pups for 1 to 3 years. And that means every single pup. If you can't do that, then guess what? Don't breed that female. That's the end of the topic portion of the live tonight. We're going to get into the comments because I think y'all are, let's see, this was the last comment. That was at, why is it not showing me the time? That was at 6 o'clock. So I'm an hour and 52 minutes behind y'all. Time for me to get caught up so I can cover anything. Maurice said, how does the temperament of the bully compare to the Rottweiler? I've always had a Rottweiler. I've had and bred Rottweilers. My kennel partner has had and bred Rottweilers. When it, Mikey, keep the noise down a little bit. That's all right. When it comes to the American Bully, some are very similar due to the fact there is Mastiff in a lot of these dogs. And then Rottweiler, as of, I would say, about 90s, 2000, their temperament started varying a lot also. I had a German Rottweiler, very intense dog. I used to be able to take him to Venice Beach. He was not a problem, but I could also, at any point, tell him to attack. There would be situations where we were kicking it, groups of us. He'd be with us at the park in the dark. He could see somebody approaching. He'd start growling. All of us would be sitting there drinking, doing what we do in the park in the middle of the night. And we'd all say, who's that? Kind of look. And if I let him off that leash, he would definitely charge that person. And if he didn't know him, he would definitely have attacked him. But other than that, middle of the day, he was 100% cool. He could be around crowds. Strangers could pet him. I've seen Rottweilers that could not be done. They had to be kept around their home and their family. They could not be around other people. They had to be locked up. So around, I'd say mid-90s to 2000s, the temperament of the Rottweiler started kind of going all over the place. And there were some that didn't have no protective bone in their body. So it started varying. I would say if you go by your average concept of the Rottweiler, your average XL can be somewhat similar, but not as intense. The alertness could be there, but not as much the protective instinct of the average concept of what we think of when we think of a Rottweiler. Our plan with our dogs. So for instance, Sadie, Cardi Bull, Lady Justice, they're not dogs we produce. They're dogs we pay. One of the reasons we got them was being able to see protective traits in them and their parents. And so it was things that we had to use. I mean, when I talk about grabbing from experience, we had to really use it. And we were correct when we got it. So it was a perfect balance for King because we got dogs to get along with everybody. You can take out, socialize them, they're cool. But then we got King to guarantee that balance. So in our breedings, temperament is a major factor, but we do not want to lose that guardian instinct that came from the masters we bred that were used to create this breed. Some of the Amstaffs that were used to create this breed. Some of the oldie bulldogs that are used as guardians that are used to create this breed. Because if you start losing too much of it, you start getting a dumber dog. It might get along with everything, but that's what dumb does. Dumb gets along with everything. So we had to be real selective with the dogs we chose. A lot of testing, which is why we didn't breed them at the age most people breed females. We waited because we needed to put them in a variety of situations, see how they dealt with it. Bite training was done. Their ability to get into bite training, then at the same time go to the local park and play with all the local people. That was some things that we were looking for in in our dogs and in deciding what we would breed. So for the most part, they're not similar, but you will find some similarities, especially in the XLs. I see y'all getting into that complicated stuff again. AT/lowercase at or AT, both makes me talk crazy. Both make tan points. That being said, I had a puppy that was ATAY, show light tan points. I have no idea what AY is. I want to say AT is going to be the try. I don't know what AY is though. And I'm assuming A capital letter was lowercase t means that the traits are showing phenotype, and then AT means maybe the phenotype is not showing, or the genotype's not showing. Not sure. Favorite color coat. I'm not really into the fancy colors. I just prefer a solid black. That's funny you said that because as soon as I read your first question, I love solid black. That is my shit. Let's see here. I thought main topic was about accountability. That ended up being the last topic, was accountability for us as breeders. And again, just to touch on that, because I do see situations often. If you have a dog, human aggressive, you need to make sure that breeder that you got it from is aware, regardless of your relationship with that breeder in its current state. You need to make sure that people who purchase dogs from that litter are aware. You as a breeder should be calling here's let me say this. Right now, a dog from our bully litter or any litter I've ever had attack somebody and I'm made aware of it as a breeder, first thing I'm going to do is get a hold of anybody I can. Is first I want to get a hold of the person who owns the dog. I want to find out what happened. The very next thing I'm going to do is call anybody I can that's an owner of any dog that I've ever sold them from that breeding. And I'm going to find out from them, hey, are you having these issues? This is what happened. Are you having any issues like this? If they're not, cool. Hopefully this was a one-time thing. I'm still never going to do that breeding again. If they are, cool. You should have told me so that I would have been aware of it. And now I need to let everybody know that, hey, this is something that you definitely now need to watch out for. If nobody else is having that issue, then there's a good chance that the owner is at fault. The owner that I sold the dog to is at fault. But guess what? I'm also at fault as a breeder for selling that dog and putting that dog in a situation to where it felt it had to bite and now it gets put down. That's my responsibility as a breeder. I have to own up to that. What happens in the bully world is people get defensive. It's because of this whole Facebook social media thing and everybody wanting to protect how they look on social media. People will do the dumbest shit on Facebook, but when it comes to their dog, all of a sudden they want to protect how they look. So again, you got to be honest. We have to take accountability. And if you got a dog that has bitten someone, you need to make your other people aware. Now, if you find out the dog was in a defensive motion because somebody was being stupid, that's different. But you do need to be aware of, need to make people who you've sold dogs to, especially from that litter, aware and find out if they've had any issues. And as far as accountability with making posts about what you've heard, that's not accountability that you're trying to build your algorithms. CBBK said, I just got my first American bully. Congratulations. Pup a few days ago. She whines in her crate all night. Is there anything I can do to reduce it or help her sleep better at night? Yes. First thing to not do. Don't give your dog anything that makes it fall asleep. You'll see people say, oh, CBD, Benadryl, all this stuff. Don't do that. You bought a pup. Be ready to deal with a pup. What you can do is put blankets in there to keep the dog warm, feels a little cozy. Sometimes stuffed animals can kind of help. What I've learned to do is if you put that stuffed animal in a place, but tie it to the crate so that it can't roll or get moved around while the pup is playing with it, and it gets in the urine or poop or anything like that. But strapping a stuffed animal to the crate, to the cage with the pup can sometimes help. Putting a blanket over the pup can help. The main thing to do is to ignore it. If you got a pup that's crying and you're constantly getting up to check on the pup, to yell at the pup, whatever it may be, all that's going to do is make it last longer. The main thing to do is ignore it. If that pup is crying right now, don't go get a stuffed animal right now. Don't go adjust the blankets right now. Don't do any of that. Just deal with it for the night. Ignore it. Wait till the morning. And in the morning, go ahead, put a stuffed animal in there. Get the pup used to it. That stuffed animal is always going to be there, and leave it that way. But my main thing is I put in a blanket over it so that I can get up, if depending on where it is, because sometimes you want to just get up. And as soon as you get up, next thing you know, the pup starts crying. Well, if you put a blanket over it, the pup can't see what's going on outside the kennel. Get the pup used to the blanket by putting it when the dog's in there during the day. Every now and then, throw the blanket on there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Do not remove the blanket during that 5 or 10 minutes when the pup's crying. And that's the best way to get the pup used to it. Start it off during the day. Have periods during the day where the pup is in the crate. So that way that way the pup gets used to it and you don't have to deal with it so much in the evenings. But you got to ignore it. That's the main thing. Exactly. Yeah. Betsy, what was she trying to send somebody to Ohio to do some slapping? Have you heard of Embark not being accurate? I have heard of Embark being extremely inaccurate when it comes to breed testing. Um, I have not heard of Embark being extremely inaccurate when it comes to DNA as far as color, diseases, things like that. So, but as far as when it comes to testing for the breed, yeah, I've seen Embark come up with some crazy stuff. But I think they're pretty good, and I think that is more because enough bullies haven't been made part of, they don't have enough markers for our breed. And the breed's already confusing as hell because some of us are breeding American bullies that have no Rottweiler in it. Some of us are breeding American bullies that do have Rottweiler in it. Some of us are breeding American bullies that have Cane Corso. Others are breeding American bullies that have Pressa. So it's all over the place. Some are breeding American bullies that have Johnson American Bulldogs. Some are breeding American bullies that have Oldie Bulldog. So it's all over the place until these dogs all start getting bred together in a true community, and which is how you really make a breed before it gets out to the community. But until they start getting, Embark's going to probably be all over the place for quite some time. Let's see here, but only with breeding or with breeds. I think they're on point when it comes to other genetic testing as far as health and color. Smooth Bully said, try a blanket over the crate. Exactly. Pitbull Bell said, I'm not 100% sold on Embark. I'm only not sold on the breeding aspect. Or the breeds aspect. That's what I'm not sold on right now. Other than that, I think they're on point. Embark breed identification isn't 100%. Exactly. People Bell, do you have a Instagram? It took me a while to learn what Insta was. Kyan Buchanan said they guessed too, in my opinion. I feel you. Rob, what's up, bruh? I'm gonna hit you up this evening. People Bell said CBBK, try covering with a blanket in a different room till it stops. About 7 days is the longest I've dealt with that. You know what? I'm glad you said that. I've never counted the days. If I had to say it though, I would think probably right around 4 to 10. So yeah, 7's a pretty good number. But CBBK, it will end. Trust me, it will end. But you've got to ignore the puppy. That's how you start, is by ignoring the puppy. Shell's Active said, facts, if you have everything you're looking for, color shouldn't be a problem. Exactly. My dog's structure and temperament are A1. All right, Shells, you said it. You said it. Belinda Pitbull Bell said, Bowser, yes, it's my name. Laugh out loud. Belinda King Moore. What's up, Rob? Eric says CBK, make sure pup is good and comfortable. No mess in crate. That's another thing. Very good. But don't get up to when the pup starts crying, clean the crate before the pup gets in there. Once the pup is in there, don't be like, oh, let me go check the crate. He might have pooped in there. Because then you're going to look in there and he didn't poop, and now you're just going to make him cry more. So, again, wait till your scheduled times to do what you do. Dog needs to learn to live around our schedule and how we move and operate. But most of it is waiting the pup out until the pup learns there's nothing wrong with being in the crate by itself. Bam. Pitbull Bell said exactly. Eric, Spirit Right said, at Brandon, what would be a good one? Not sure. That would be a good one. Not sure what that was. Eric said, train pup to kennel up using treats or toys to associate something positive with the crate. Good idea. Spirit Rider says she's a great go-to gal. I think she's talking about Pitbull Bell, and I agree. The treats is another thing. Get the pup to understand that treat, and that means getting it to go in there using the treat. While it's in there, using a treat. But this has to be during the times that you don't mind winding. the whining and making the noise. Close the door while the pup is in there. Give it a treat. Open the door. Get it to understand that this isn't a bad thing. Get it to go in there. Close the door. Put the blanket over it. Oh, take the blanket off. Give it a treat. Put the blanket back over it. Take the blanket off. Open the door. Let it out. Give it a treat. And the best way to give a treat to a pup while it's in there is don't do it through the door. Do it through the actual crate itself. But you want to take it in steps. Dogs look at things in a process. You know, we look at things as, I'm going to take my dog to PetSmart. How'd you go about doing it? Oh, we got in the car, we drove to PetSmart, and then we just went in. Dogs don't look at things that way. Dogs look at things as, we exit the door. You got the chain. I heard the chain rattling. You got my chain. You got my collar. You put them on me. I heard you grabbing your car keys. I looked and you were grabbing your car keys. Dogs look at things in a process. So that's why when you're training a dog, whether it's behavior or obedience, you have to be able to look at it in a process to make it so that you can see the way the dog sees it and then break it down. We as humans, we don't look at things as a step-by-step or a process. We do A through Z, and when we get to elemental P, what do we say? Elemental. Dogs don't do things that way. They say L, M, N, O. So that's the way we have to think of things when it comes to the way we think and the way a dog thinks. Let's see here. Well, I said, oh yeah, peace and love to the live. What's up, man? Thanks for being in here, dude. Let's see here. Big Bully Kennels. Kahaki Sakata said, I'm a Frenchie breeder. Okay, for sure. My cousin keeps hitting me up about getting into Frenchies. But I don't know. We just got to get XLs down first. A lot of people say structure this, structure that, but it's the color they're trying to get exactly to the point where I feel is diminishing the breed and straying away from the standard. I agree 100%. You know, people are trying to produce what they think is going to sell to breeders that don't know much about dogs. And that's what we're facing. Fortunately for the Frenchie world, you guys are getting plagued with a lot of the same thing that the bully world and the exotic world are getting plagued with. Smooth Bully says, you know what they say about dogs would be. Rose Kendall said, I took strategic moves when lining up my breeding. You did, and I remember your process. I'm doing okay. Eric, how are you? But B said there's two types of chocolate. See, there you guys go. BB and COCO. So if you breed two chocolate dogs together, but one is BB and the other is COCO, you will not get any chocolate puppies. So you'd have to breed BB to BB and BB to BB and COCO to COCO is what I'm thinking you're saying. That's crazy. That is crazy. Here will be my question, Beth. Do those two types of chocolates look exactly the same as far as the phenotype? Casper said, is a dog's temperament influenced mostly by the mother rather than the father? I would say yes. When it comes to performance, the better performing the female, the better performing the father. The better performing the offspring. The reason I say that, because you can have a great performing male, breed him to a non-performing female, and you might get some pups in the litters that will perform accordingly. You can have a great performing female, breed her to a non-performing male, and you'll get a decent number of pups that will perform. Some pups will perform great, and damn near the entire litter will perform good. When it comes at least good, rarely will you get one pup that performs just like his daddy, who's a non-performer. Now, at the same time, when it comes to performance, there's slight advantage in that you're dealing with a breed that whether the dog is a performer or not, the breed was bred for performance. But the reason I say that is when it comes to temperament, a lot of it is based off the female. The reason why is, one, she delivers the majority of the genetic information to the litter when it comes to the males. She delivers 50-50 genetic information with the father. Now, at the same time, you got the random dice shooting and gamble of genetics. Once you get past the genetic aspect, that female carries that litter. The energy that she uses while she carries that litter um, is present in that litter and is shaping that litter, especially during that last 30 to 15 to 30 days. Then the female gives birth, and she goes about taking care of those pups. Some females are more intense with the way they lick a pup than other females are. Some females will even push on pups. Cardi Bull was very mischievous with her pups. She got this thing where when they were on the bed with her, if they got near the edge, she got a kick out of watching them. She pushed them off the bed with her nose. Now the bed's only about that high. But it was, and she didn't do it. She would do it to any puppy that was near the edge. She would push it off and her ears would go up, or she'd get it as close to the edge as possible. If she could get half the pup off the bed, she would sit there and watch with her ears up to see if it was going to fall off, or climb its way back to her. She's just a silly dog. But dogs have different temperament. Females have different temperaments, and that temperament controls how they operate with their pups. And the energy that they use around the pups. Then the pups get that age where they're able to run around with mom and bounce around with her and bite at her. She roughhouse with them and she kind of chews on them and pushes them away. A lot of that is based on that mom's ability to move and function and maneuver. One of my catch dogs I had, Sasha, she would go at it so intense with her pups, yet not hurt them whatsoever. But it made her pups more intense. So the female overall does have a lot of influence on the temperament of the dog genetically and also environmentally. Some females, if a puppy bites them too hard, they whip right around, they bite that pup back. And then other females just growl. Some females just ignore it and move away with the pup, and then they stop playing, which means now no pups get to play. So females, they have a huge influence on the pup's temperament, more so than the dads. Rose Kennel said, my Bandogs are great for an apocalypse. Exactly. Pitbull Bell said, Kahiki, yes, I've noticed the Frenchies are suffering pretty bad because, the fluffy thing. That's another bad thing. I forgot about that. Eric said, I got a new pup and it's driving me crazy. I think I hate puppies. I'm going to be the first to admit it. I don't like puppies. I wish every dog was born at 1 year old. That would be perfect. I do not like dealing with puppies, especially if I know that I'm not keeping the whole litter, because now I've got to prepare these puppies to go to homes, potty train them, teach them some obedience training, for them to go to homes, put them in. I don't like dealing with puppies because it forces me to deal with a side of me I don't really want to deal with, and that's the whole obedience training and conditioning and imprinting the pups. When I say condition, I'm talking about the mind. Doing imprinting, and every dog should just be born at 1 year old, and then dog breeding would be perfect. But I don't like dealing with pups. I can't wait till a pup hits 1 year old. Let's see here. I've gotten one try every breeding with neither parent being tried. Okay, so 2 tri carriers, you bred them, and you got at least 1 try. So there we go. I had a lilac tri to a blue tri and had all tri litter twice. Wait, what you talking about? Spirit Rider. She's over there speaking violence. Casper, why is inbreeding father to daughter rather than mother to son? It's because the mother carries so much genetic information. So the mother gives a lot of genetic information to the males. So when you breed a son who's already got a lot of her genetic information, because remember, all right, go back to the beginning. The mother only gives out X chromosomes. The father gives out X and Y chromosomes. The Y chromosome has less genetic information because it's more so focused on making that pup, that egg, a male. So, and it's also got to be able to do these things for the next 2 to 3 years of the dog's maturity. So when balls dropping, testosterone, all that stuff. All this stuff is based off that one Y chromosome that came from the dad. So you got double X makes a female, XY makes a male. So when father and mother breed and they create females, that's the father. The mother only gives out an X chromosome. So that female puppy is X from the mother and X from the father. The minute that father gives a Y chromosome, that makes that puppy a male, and there's less genetic information there. More than his genetic information is going to, through the random crapshoot of genetics, come from the mother. Here's what happens when we're dealing, especially with bullies and bull-bred dogs. We get caught up breeding for big heads, thick bone, etc. If you're breeding for performance, it's not as big of an issue. If you're breeding for looks and appearance, it becomes an issue because things are mass. So we're breeding all these dogs. So when you hear she-male, when you hear the words she-male, that's not a good thing. In the bully world, they think it's a good thing, but that's not a good thing for a female to look like a male. Because now that means what you're doing is you're losing the things that a female brings to the table. So when you breed father to daughter, what ends up wait a minute. When you breed mother to son, that son already has a lot of that mom's genetic info and very little of the less of the father's genetic info in principle and concept scientifically outside of the random crapshoot of playing with genetics. And now when you go to the mom, you're now compounding that genetic info. Whereas if you breed father to daughter, the daughter got 50% of her dad's information, 50% of her mom's information, no more, no less. So she goes back to the dad. You're now producing a litter that is going to, still be greatly influenced by the dad when it comes to females, but not as much influenced by the dad when it other than through their mom, which happens to be his daughter, when it comes to the males. Mother to son can be a problem. When mother to son breedings tend to go wrong, it tends to be in the male pups and carry into some of the female pups. And you're looking at deformities, lack of drive, lack of intelligence, etc. So that is why. I hope I made that make sense. You being a guest. Let's see. That's because the blue dog doesn't have chocolate to make a Isabella or Lilac. Isn't Isabella Merle? Especially in Great Danes have another funny name. I think Isabella's with Frenchies, I think. But is Merle, if I'm not mistaken. Shell's Actor said, thanks for all the info. No problem, man. Thanks for tuning in, sharing, and liking. Spirit Rider said, or the Ohio Eric, it's been a while since I've had puppies. Breeding the bitch that took me 10 years to make to my fader son for an outcross, and I can come back with another inbred B son to continue. There you go. Richard Kennels, what's up? Thanks for joining in. Can you breed muscle in your program from you keeping the dog's conditioning in your program? No, conditioning can only bring the best out of your genetics. It cannot add to the genetics. On the other hand, if you got a dog that loves conditioning, guess what? He's going to be able to produce dogs that love conditioning to build muscle. So conditioning is a total, as far as genetics go with conditioning, it's a lot about the dog's mentality, that he won't give up. It'll keep working hard to do what it is that you need it to do. So muscle comes from genetics, and then conditioning just brings the best out of those genetics. Some of you have always heard me say that that's what a dog man is. A dog man is somebody who's able to bring the best out of dogs. A lot of times we get on Facebook and in our own selfishness, we say dog men teach, dog men tell the truth, dog men don't lie, dog men don't breed for color. Dogmen this, dogman that. I know some of the worst human beings that are some of the best dogmen on the planet. The dogman is one thing and one thing only, two things and two things only. One, they gain knowledge from their experience, not from breeding. Otherwise, your reproductive vet would be a dogman. They gain knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of dogs through their experience working dogs, herding, protection, hunting. Those three things. Without those three things, you're never going to have a dog man. I don't care what other activity it is. They also breed according to that. Some dogmen don't even breed. They just rather have a puppy and condition in the right place. Some dogmen won't even deal with puppies. They just rather have a dog at a year or two old that they can get around their other dogs, and that dog learns to do what it needs to do. But being a dogman has nothing to do with being a vet, being somebody that people like on Facebook, and all that other bullshit we see. A dog man is only comes into existence in three ways: your experience hunting with dogs and breeding accordingly, breeding and conditioning accordingly. Uh, what else was I saying? Herding dogs and breeding and conditioning and accordingly, and protection, breeding and conditioning accordingly. Those are the only three things that form a dog man or a dog woman. Outside of those three things, that is not a dog man. That's just somebody that's done a bunch of Googling, read a bunch of books, or learned a bunch of shit that if they got put their dog to the test, they're going to fail. A dog man is a person that has, through those three experiences, through one of those three experiences or all those three experiences, has learned to bring the best out of dogs to get what they need out of a dog, whether it be mentally or physically. Next thing, let's see. Next comment. People Bed said, my line fine. First goes down tomorrow and already dreading puppies. Oh, you doing a breeding tomorrow? I didn't know that. And we just talked like 3 hours. Zachariah said Raul from QB&K produced a chocolate dog off of Power. I'm pretty sure from a Red. I think he has produced a few of them. Chocolate dog. I haven't looked at his. See, I don't think of color when I look at dogs. I noticed Try, but I don't think I. Now I'm trying to think of the color of his dogs, and now all kinds of colors are coming into my mind, even with the dogs that I know what color they are. But I don't. I think when I think of Raul, I think lilac. So I'm probably wrong, or maybe he's got both. Um, Let's see. Spirit Rider, yes, both. Who you slapping though? Your sister. You can't get us involved with slapping your sister-in-law, Betsy. Come on now. You can't that we can't get involved in family issues. Then you send somebody out there, they slap her. Next thing you know, 2 weeks later, you and her are friends, and now you don't like the person that you sent out there to slap them. You can't do that to us, Betsy. Kai M. Buchanan said, I bred two solid red nosed dogs that got two. You got two tries out of two. Okay, when you say red nose, you're not talking about like old family red nose or the original line of old family red nose, which were the old family reds. Or are you? Yeah, I need to know. Are you talking about bullies? You got me confused on that one. How Red Nose came out with Try. Zachariah said, "My understanding is if a dog is Try, it is a Try carrier." Yes. Then there are dogs that do not have a Try coat but still Try carriers. Yes. Pretty sure if you breed a Try with any other dog, Try pups are possible. That's what I would think. That's what I would think. Spirit, sister-in-laws, and okay, I get it. Sisters and sisters, exactly. Dollars, Gaff and Old Edge. I know what Gaff is. I know what Old Edge is, and I actually didn't think about Gaff during that question, that topic earlier. That's a good one. I don't know what Edelhaas or whatever that is. I don't think I've ever seen or heard of that, unless I've seen or heard of that and just don't remember. Pretty Eye Pit said yes, tri-carrier to tri-carrier has possibility of producing tries with 10 points. Okay, cool. Spirit Rider laughing. Belinda said every dog, every breed should have a purpose and a job, even if it's just to fetch your slippers and papers, but give it a job. I agree with that 100%. That's something I've always tried to push, even if it's just with the intensity that it plays fetch. Find something that your dogs in your yard can do and make the ability to do that better a purpose in your breedings. If you got a dog that every time this dog runs to get the ball when I throw it, it runs around the yard with the ball. But every time I throw the ball with this dog, it gets it and it brings it right back. And it actually learned that pretty quick. That should play a factor in your breedings. You get what I'm saying? So I agree with that 100%. Every breeding should have a purpose. Like even in ours, we know our end game is to have a protective family, purpose driven guardian. We want to produce dogs that are too big to go hog hunting, but if you want them to, they're down to do it. At the same time, are able to, and when I say too big to go hog hunting, I mean running across for miles, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 miles, hit a hog, and then bam. We don't want dogs that have that ability. What we do want is you to be able to drive up with a truck, open the door, and he jumps out on the hog and handles his business. We want a dog that's a family guardian. And that is the reason that I'm moving to Arkansas, because I can make all those factors into our breedings while at the same time drive out the woods and make sure that I'm able to socialize the dogs. That's one of the things, like I was explaining to Belinda when I was on the phone, that I got to figure out, because where I'm moving, I'm able to bring all the things I'm used to doing when I was young, all the things that I do now. And then I'm able to do it on a whole nother level. The only thing I'm losing is the access to neighbors, family, like my niece and her kids, which are my god kids. She's there's always been an opportunity to have dogs around a 2-year-old they never met and be able to see how the dog operates. So that's something I'm going to have to figure out once we get to Arkansas, to counter that. How do I get these dogs around kids as much as possible in a family home environment? So I'm going to need some of my family who's deep in Arkansas. Luckily, I got some younger cousins in Arkansas. They should be having some babies soon. And hopefully I'll be able to make that a part of our breeding program the way we've been doing now. John Stebbins said, Thor Bullies, if I'm trying to create my own bloodline, would I be okay starting with 6 dogs? Yes. 2 males, 4 females that are very clean and very correct. Yes. The main thing is, again, they're clean, they're correct, making sure they have the temperament that you're looking for. Start incorporating them, making them better, and take your 2 best dogs, breed them to each other, of course. Then you're going to start breeding that to your other dogs, and you're going to start incorporating each of the dogs. If each of those 6 dogs has traits that you want to be involved in this, your bloodline starts when all 6 dogs are in there. That's not the bloodline. That's the beginning steps to achieving the bloodline. When you get all 6 of the dogs in there, you got 1 litter, and somehow all 6 of the dogs are in the pedigree. Now you're going to start line breeding and inbreeding, because now you can reach back to family members that aren't related to this family member, or because now you got a family of dogs. So you can reach back to this family member that's not related to this family member over here. You can reach back to this family member that's related to these 2 family members, but not related to these 3 family members. Now you're going to start using that in your breeding. You want to take the blood of your yard. You've got it all in 1 litter. And now you're going to start refining it and getting it better and better as dogs. That's going to take you about 5 generations from the point that you got. So you got 1 litter and all 6 dogs are in the pedigree. Now you're going to start refining and fine tuning that litter to make it better and better. Temperament, ability, structure. Remember, as you're line breeding and inbreeding, you want to make temperament a mate, and structure's always got to be a factor, but you also want to make temperament a factor and ability a factor, so that you can also learn when things are going wrong before structure goes wrong. A lot of times the hint to structure getting ready to go wrong before it goes wrong is you'll produce a litter that tends to be more intense in temperament or ability, or it goes backwards and you produce a temperament that dulls down. The drive kind of gets lost. So that's something you want to pay attention as you're doing your line breedings. Eventually, after about 5 generations, you're going to do a tight breeding. If you've gotten there yet, you want to make sure when you're doing your line breedings or inbreedings, no flaws are popping back up from the past. That's why you're going to be doing those line breedings. As things get better, you're going to breed closer and closer breedings. And then eventually you want to go ahead, you do an inbreeding. The main purpose in that inbreeding is to lock it all in. The line breedings are slowly locking things in, but you're still fixing traits that you need to fix. The actual inbreeding takes place, that's to lock it in. And have in mind a distant line breeding, which is going to probably be one of those 6 dogs that you're starting with, so whichever one's the best one of those, or a dog to outcross to, meaning another kennel that has dogs unrelated to yours, but has the same traits that you've achieved. Once you do that, you should kick the same thing that you've been kicking in your litters, and that lets you know that everything's locked in and you now have a true bloodline. It's going to take you anywhere from 5 to 10 generations, like we were talking earlier. The best will do it in 5 to 6. The average breeder who's got experience will do it in about 6 to 8, but but most breeders are going to take right around 9, 10 generations to do it. And a lot of it has to do with your access to other dogs. But if you've got the dogs that you think you've got to start a bloodline, then there you go. But a lot of times what happens is you start breeding this dog to this dog, and all of a sudden a trait you never thought would show up shows up. So you got to be prepared for that. So then you breed this dog in to fix it, but when you bred that dog in to fix that, a trait you never thought about, never even saw out of the 6 dogs, all of a sudden it shows up. And that's what causes us to take, that's what caused it to take a little bit longer. Pitbull, I know, baby girl, I'm coming just a sec. I'm gonna feed you. I'm so over the lack of common sense, lack of respect, and understand. You just gonna climb up on my arm, girl? Get off my arm. What's up? I'm so over the lack of common sense, lack of respect, and understanding. All breeds were created for a purpose. Exactly. And they should remain that way, all the way down to the pug. Find a purpose for it. If that's what you breed, Frenchies, whatever it is, find a purpose. Something it can do that it enjoys to do because of how it happened to be bred. You can't crawl in my lap on my desk chair, girl. Get down and watch my weight. Don't be grabbing onto my arm. Get back. Let's see. Agree. Must have a job. My Bailey will eat rolls of toilet paper if I don't work her. She gets too bored. There you go. And let's see. And that's the thing. Find something that's interactive. The flirt pole isn't a good job because it's just working off the prey drive. The spring pole is not a good job. It's just working off the prey drive. Find something that the dog likes to do with you. Long walks, fetch. You know what I mean? These are things that incorporate, the dog bringing the ball back. There's all kinds of things. Training the dog to open the refrigerator door and get you a beer. My neighbor had an Alapaha. He used to breed Alapahas around the corner from me. One of his, he had bred Alapahas and Labs, but he had a Labrador named Raider, all black Lab, and he was a Raider fan. But Raider would actually, you could tell Raider, go get a beer. Raider would go pull the string on the refrigerator, open the door, grab you a beer, and bring that beer to you. So if that's what you want to be the job, cool, because now you get to breed accordingly, rather than something that is just physical. Because when we just breed for the physical of a dog, somehow they get ruined. You want to have something that the body and mind is in tune, and that's what helps with the whole physical look of the dog. People Bell said exactly, this companion breed as a purpose is killing this breed. To me, the word companion kills breeds because the dog is, as I've always said, a purpose-driven companion species. So all breeds are companions, from the greyhound that's racing to the bloodhound that's hunting. They're all companions. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be dealing with them if they weren't. Now, cats, they're not really companions, but dogs are companions. They are all purpose-driven. And like I've said before, it is in between the ages of 6 to 12 months that a dog, regardless of breed, learns that you have no purpose for it, and they adjust. They adjust for the positive as they just go along with it, or they adjust to the negative as they start tearing up stuff, and next thing you know, you're hiring a trainer. Pitbull Bell Stevens, you can do it with one male, and three females, all bred differently, but with at least one dog in common in all four. I agree. Let's see here. How far behind am I? 6:21. Shit, I'm like two hours behind, y'all. Hold on. These comments are going on for forever. Because we've been on here for what? Almost actually, we've been on here for 3.5 hours. And yeah, the comments are going forever, dude. There's like a million of them. I'm scrolling down them. So there's no way for me to catch up. What I will do is this. We're going to go ahead in the live and, damn it, how do I get, all right, current comment. There we go. Yeah, I'm at 6:21 in comments, and it's 8:30, 8:28. What time is it? 8:39. So we're going to go ahead and end the live. What I will say, if anybody did ask a question that was not answered, actually, I got a better idea. It's on YouTube. What I'll do is I'll go to YouTube within the next 24 hours, but then you don't get notified if I answer your comment. Here's what I'll do. If you happen to have a comment from now on, any live that you do, if you happen to have a comment that does not get answered by me or someone else, hit me up either on Instagram, message me through Instagram, or message me through Facebook. And then that way you're guaranteed to get your answer. More than likely, though, you did get an answer. But just in case, if you notice you didn't get an answer and I get off the live, go ahead, message me on Facebook or message me through Instagram. Other than that, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Once again, Belinda, thanks for your help. Actually, Jasmine, thanks for your help. Who was it? Isaac, and there was a couple others. Or I think it was Zachariah, not Isaac. But thanks for you guys helping answering the questions. I appreciate that. I look forward to that in all the lives. And I will see you guys again next Tuesday. If you do have a topic that you want to present, you have a question that didn't get answered in the comment section, message me on Instagram or through Thrower Bullies Instagram, or message me on Daryl Thrower Facebook or Thrower Bullies Facebook. If you have a topic you want to bring up, I will post between Monday and Tuesday, I will always post the poll. I'll try to remember to start doing it on Monday, but I will post the poll for the live, and you'll be able to include whatever topic you want to discuss in that. Other than that, I want to thank y'all for joining in. Salute. We are out.